Welcome to the NWO Sports Podcast. Here's your host, Logan Bailey.
Welcome to the NWO Sports Podcast, football edition, brought to you by our primary sponsor, BSN Sports. I'm your host, Logan Bailey, and joined today by Keith Brown, AJ Fairchild, and Tony Fairchild. So, guys, as usual, thanks again for joining me on the podcast.
Absolutely. You're welcome, and happy birthday today to Coach Fairchild, everybody.
Thank you much.
Sing him happy birthday.
Nobody wants to hear that.
Yeah, we don't want to hear that.
But, another week's down, and it's week 5 already, and everyone's talking about halfway through the season. And one of the kind of hot takes someone submitted was, what are you talking about, halfway? We're talking, this isn't even halfway if you're going to the championship. So
Right.
I had a couple people had brought that up, or actually one in particular, and just kept on bringing up that point over and over again. But it's true. I think and that's, it differs expectations between each team as well. So, it flies by every year. It seems like the other day we had the kickoff show. So
it doesn't seem that long ago.
You're only a third of the way if you're going to the state championship, right? I mean, 15 games or something like that.
yeah,
So,
that's a long season.
Very long.
All right. Well, we'll get to looking at how we did for last week's picks, and we'll get things rolling here today. Matthew and Logan finished with an astounding 16-1 record last week, and that's something I'm going to say we are on fire for the year. I'll kind of get into some other points. Third was a tie between Keith and AJ with a 15-2 record, and last was Tony with a 14-3 record, bringing up the rear. So someone has to do it, and unfortunately, Tony continues that trend.
I saw this week you put Bryce's name back in there. You just do that to make me happy, or
No, it was the template from last year, but I don't know. Maybe we'll have to try to get Bryce to start picking some games again. He was usually kind of in that last place. So
Yeah, Jimmy the Greek doesn't have anything on us.
I'm just trying to pick something different sometimes, just to maybe pick one that nobody else picked.
hey, we'll see how that strategy works the rest of
Ain't
the
working
year.
so far.
But on the year, the race is still really tight. Matthew's in first with a 63-13 record, good for 83%. Logan, myself, in second with 62-14, good for 82%. Keith in third with a 61-15 record, good for 80%. Third is AJ. Fourth is AJ with a 59-17, 78% record. And last is Tony with a 56-20, good for a 74% record. So just kind of looking at how my picks went last week, the only game that got me was the Pandora, Gilboa, and Lipsick game, and that was close in itself, 21-18. So that actually got 4 of us. The only person that got that right was this guy over here, and there's the game that he chose, and luckily he got that one right. That was different than all the rest. So, but no, I think we do a really good job at analyzing these teams, and I think that just kind of pays benefit to us when we're picking the selections each week.
Yeah, like
so.
AJ's in fourth place, like 4 games out of first place. I mean, what the heck? That's amazing.
So, yeah, it's pretty phenomenal. This is our best year to date, I would say, through the halfway week 5 points.
Yep.
So, I think if we keep doing what we're doing, I'd be impressed to see if we can maintain that the rest of the year. All right, let's get into week 4 game recaps, and we're going to get into the NWO Sports game of the week. We're looking at Wayne Trace at Paulding, big rivalry game for the Black Swamp Bowl. Wayne Trace Paulding ended up taking this one 24-14. For the first time in 36 years, Paulding has won their first 4 games of the season. Coach Menzie over there is doing excellent job. The players are bought in. The program is rolling. There's a lot of excitement around the community. I think if you're Paulding, you really can't ask for much more at this point in time. So, I mean, they're doing everything that they should be doing through the first 4 weeks of the season. This is actually the first time Paulding has beat Wayne Trace back-to-back since the 2007 and 2008 seasons. And this is, again, back-to-back wins over Wayne Trace, a big rival, and kind of changing that trend. Looking at some game stats, halftime, Paulding was up 14-7. Total offense, Paulding had 233 yards, 130 passing. Wayne Trace had 201 with 137 passing. Turnover battle, Paulding had 1 interception. Wayne Trace had 3 with 1 interception and 2 fumbles. Looking at some top players from the teams, Paulding, linebacker Jack Woods had himself a night, 19 tackles, 5 tackles for loss, 1 forced fumble, 1 sack. He's just tearing it up on the defense, which we saw last year, and he's just continuing that trend and bettering what he topped last year. Running back Avery Cooper, 23 carries, 101 rushing yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, a solid performance out of him. Quarterback Colton Hunt was 10-21, 130 passing yards with 1 passing touchdown. He did have 1 interception. Wide receiver defensive back Blake Roanhouse, 4 receptions, 65 receiving yards, 6 tackles, and 1 interception on defense, and a couple players from Wayne Trace. Quarterback Jack Schuenauer, 12 of 19, 119 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns, and 1 interception. Whitman had 12 carries for 51 rushing yards, and Stoller and Head each had 1 receiving touchdown apiece. So, guys, what are your thoughts on the Paulding and Wayne Trace game, this big rivalry matchup for the Black Swamp Bowl?
Yeah, I mean, it's Paulding's off to a roll. I mean, a great start for them this year, and to get the win over the Wayne Trace. Wayne Trace has been struggling a little bit to start the year, and it's awesome to see him to get that win. I noticed Wayne Trace did switch quarterbacks.
Yeah, and I found out I believe that their other quarterback, Moorhead, I believe he's injured, is what I've heard. So
I saw the new name, so it just. But hey, congrats to Paulding, man. Like you said, Jack Woods, 19 tackles, must have been all over the place.
The first time in 16 years now? Is that what the math adds up, since 2007? So 15 years they've been behind the stakes on that one. So good to see Paulding getting their program on track here for this year.
Yeah, quality win for the Panthers. Rivalry game, as we said during last week's podcast. It's similar to our Tenora-Ayersville, Tenora-Fairview type rivalry. Paulding, you can see, coming a little bit back to the pack as far as offensive stats, a little more quality opponent in Wayne Trace. But Jack Woods, 19 tackles. Goodness gracious. I mean, I don't care what high school, college, small college, big college, you get 19 tackles. He's like a beast, like Andy Katzenmoyer back in the day.
Yeah, flying to the football.
Boy, oh boy.
Yeah, it's not too often in today's day and age that you really see guys have 10 tackles is tough to get in a game, let alone having over 15, getting 19 tackles a game. That just says a lot about him and his efforts all over the field. But, I look at Wayne Trace, and, man, they're just right there. They're competitive in all their games, but they just can't get over the hump. I think Wayne Trace, I really think that they're a quality team, and they've played some tougher games to start the season, but this I kind of feel like was one of Paulding's bigger challenges on the year. Paulding played a Delphus Jefferson team last week, and they handled them pretty well, but I think this is the true first challenge that Paulding's had all year, and the most points that their defense has surrendered as well, and they stood tall to the challenge, and I feel like sometimes when you get to rivalry games, you can throw everything out the window because, you look at Ohio State, Michigan. Yep. Michigan, years ago when Michigan was bad, they were still competitive in a few different games. But, this was definitely a good game. A lot of physicality, a lot of chippiness always between these two. And, people definitely got their money's worth on Friday night, that's for sure. Let's move on to the next game, another Green Meadows Conference game. And this one really shocked us to see what the final was. We were kind of keeping track of it when we were at the Tenora-Hicksville game. And this is Edgerton at Antwerp, and Edgerton ended up winning this one 42-21. One of the most impressive stats that maybe all year, all 42 of Edgerton's points came in the second half. When you're down at halftime, Antwerp was up 14-0 on Edgerton, and we were all kind of looking at each other, and wow, Antwerp's really kind of making a statement coming out here, and Edgerton just pulls away 42 points in the second half like it's nothing. Looking at total offense, Edgerton had 358 yards, 220 rushing. Antwerp had 270, 234 passing. Turnover battle, Edgerton had 1 interception. Antwerp had 2 interceptions. Some top players from Edgerton. Running back linebacker Joel Walkup had 20 carries, 166 rushing yards, good for 8.3 yards a carry, 3 rushing touchdowns, 12 tackles, 1 interception, 1 sack. Another great linebacker in the Green Meadows Conference. That's been in the discussion with Jack Woods over the last couple of years, and is this kid and Joel Walkup, another quality player on the defensive side, and as you can see, the offensive side of the ball as well. Quarterback Maddox Baker was 7 of 15, good for 47%, 138 passing yards, 8 carries for 32 rushing yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. And Scotty Krantz, he had 64 or 66-yard punt return for a touchdown, 3 receptions for 89 receiving yards. And I tell you what, guys, this play's going to pop up later today in the running for play of the week because he looked like a master chef out there. He was cooking up the Antwerp punt team all over, slicing and dicing. Really took care of business, and that came at a critical point in the game. So nice play out of Scotty Krantz. Looking at Antwerp, wide receiver defensive back, Caden Winslow, a nice solid performance out of him. 5 receptions, 67 receiving yards, 3 receiving touchdowns. He led the team with 13 tackles and 1 tackle for loss. Definitely he was playing down at the line of scrimmage if he's a defensive back, and he's got 13 tackles. Quarterback Hampton Rogie, 13 of 25, good for 52%, 147 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns. He did have 2 interceptions. Quarterback Derek Hines was 2 of 3, 67%, 87 passing yards and 1 passing touchdown. So a little 2 quarterback tag team for the Antwerp Archers. So, guys, thoughts on this critical matchup of Edgerton at Antwerp in the Green Meadows Conference?
Yeah, it's kind of a tale of two halves. First half, you saw Antwerp go up 14-0. And if you're, Coach Hale and the boys over there, you're thinking pretty good about your chances here. I mean, the game was at Edgerton, hard place to win at. Boy, oh boy, I'd like to know what the second or the conversation at halftime going into the second half was by Coach Flagel, because there's not too many times you score 42 points in the second half. I mean, usually you see that in the first half. If you're much better than your opposition, then second half you generally, put the brakes on everything. But 42 points in the second half is just fantastic. But Edgerton probably has one of the top 1, 2, or 3 three-headed monsters as far as offense in the GMC. I mean, Wolcott, Baker, and Krantz, that's a
solid quarterback, solid running back, and solid wide receiver.
It's hard to stop those. Antwerp, Caden Winslow, though, that kid is just shot out of a cannon as well, offense and defensively. 3 touchdown receptions. What do you say, Logan? He had 13 tackles, but a heck of a job by Caden over there. But Antwerp slowly sneaking into that. Boy, could they be a sleeper in the GMC conversation? So, time will tell. But hey, they're playing very well. Only lost to Eden, I believe, this year, which was close. So,
and Eden's very, very, very solid this year. But the point I kind of want to bring up, I know you talked about Antwerp being a sleeper. I think Edgerton, coming into the season, we heard all the coaches say, watch out for Edgerton, watch out for Edgerton. They're kind of a team that's lingering right on the edge of that upper tier of the GMC, and I think they're fulfilling that role very well. We've seen them come out. Unfortunately, they dropped the first game to a very good Eden ball club. But, again, they're just a team that's just kind of sitting back the entire way of this first half of the season, and they're taking care of business. So that's one team is the Edgerton Bulldogs that you got to keep your eye on, and any team in the GMC, really. We talk every week. We say GMC is the most competitive it has ever been, and it's true every single week. We saw that out of Tenora and Hicksville as well. So, but Edgerton, that's a good-looking ball club there.
Yep.
Yeah, for me, I just think, you look at Edgerton, everybody, we even us, we've been saying something about Fairview. Fairview's a team to beat. Fairview's a team. Man, I don't know. Edgerton's sure making a name for themselves, and but at any given time, any one of these GMC teams can be a spoiler alert. You know what I mean? It's just they're going to come in and somebody's going to get knocked off by some team that they kind of were, we'll kind of look past them, and all of a sudden you get smacked in the face and you end up losing a game. And I think, unless I'm wrong, I think the GMC is going to be. I think you're going to see a tie at the top between a couple different teams, if not a 3-way tie, maybe a 4-way tie. Just teams are going to beat each other.
They are,
and then you're going to end up with. It's going to. I don't think that there's going to be a GMC champion that's going to win it outright.
Could actually
I
have
agree.
A GMC champion that has 2 losses this year. Really, I mean, very well could happen.
Well, we saw last year in the GMC a 3-way tie between Tenora, Ayersville, and Antwerp. So I think that very well could play out this year as well. Because I had even talked to my brother. Obviously, my brother plays for Tenora, but I said, if you guys come into any week and you take any of these teams lightly, I don't care who it is, whether they're top of the GMC, the bottom of the GMC, middle, the other team's going to win, because you have to bring your A++ game every single week, or you will come out with a loss, and it's inevitable.
It's like the Hicksville game. We were at the other night. I mean, it wasn't a cakewalk. I mean, Hicksville wasn't going away, so. You like you said, if you fall asleep for a minute, you could be looking at the wrong side of the scoreboard.
Let's move on to the next game here. Looking at Wauseon at Swanton. Wauseon ended up winning this one big, 42-7. This is Wauseon's first win of the season, and it was a much-needed win for the program. Halftime score, Wauseon was up 28-7. Total offense, Wauseon had 238 yards, 119 rushing, 119 passing, which I thought, how many times do you have exactly equal balance in terms of rushing and passing? Swanton had 90 yards with 60 of them rushing. Turnover battle, Wauseon had 1 interception. Swanton had 2 with 1 interception and 1 fumble. Some top players from Wauseon, quarterback Cale Albright, 7 of 12, 119 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns. So even though Wauseon's running the ball a lot, Albright's doing a nice job back there at quarterback, especially when you can sling for 2 passing touchdowns. Running back Azarion Hicks, 4 carries, 86 rushing yards, 1 rushing touchdown. He had 1 receiving touchdown as well. Wide receiver Wyatt Smith, 3 receptions, 100 receiving yards, and 1 receiving touchdown. So a big performance out of him with just only 3 receptions. If you go out there and pull 100 receiving yards, that's saying a lot. He's definitely a big play threat. And then Swanton, unfortunately, I didn't have any stats for them. So, guys, thoughts on the Wauseon at Swanton matchup here?
It's nice to see Wauseon get that win. They needed it, even though it did come against against Swanton. But good win for Wauseon.
Yeah, Coach Moore over there. I mean, they've struggled probably, obviously, this year and a little bit of last year, but at a much-needed win for the Wauseon Indians.
Yeah, and a lot of these programs that have started out with multiple losses, it just gets the monkey off the back. I don't care who it's against, if it's a quality opponent, if it's another team that's struggling. A win's a win at the end of the day. Right. And I think with Wauseon, that's what that program needs. Yep. Because, when you're losing, unfortunately, kids are going to talk. They start questioning things, whether it's believing in each other, believing in coach staff, whatever, believing in the team, and things start to fall apart after that. Especially, it's hard to start a season off with multiple losses, but for Wauseon to come out of here and get a big win and get back on track, as we all know, Wauseon is a really quality program when it comes to football. It's good to see them back on track. And if you're Swanton, again, we've known the last couple of years, Swanton's just kind of in that rebuilding phase, just grinding it out. And for those kids, all you got to do is keep going to work each and every day. So the moment you start giving up on the season, things just get worse. So if you're a Swanton Bulldog, you just got to keep your head down and kind of grinding away every single day. Let's move on to the next game here. Evergreen at Patrick Henry, another NWAL matchup. Patrick Henry won this one 35-6, and Patrick Henry led 21-0 at halftime. Total yards, Patrick Henry had 324 yards with 303 rushing, really showing off that rushing attack. Evergreen had 136 yards with 80 yards passing. Turnovers, Patrick Henry had 0. Evergreen had 2 interceptions. Third down conversions, Patrick Henry was 5 of 11 for 45%. Evergreen was 1 of 12 for 8%. Patrick Henry, some top players. Quarterback Lincoln Krieger, 2 of 6, 21 passing yards, 1 passing touchdown. He had 14 carries for 84 rushing yards and 3 rushing touchdowns. Running back Grant Smith, 11 carries, 133 rushing yards, good for 12.1 yards a carry, 1 rushing touchdown for him. And wide receiver Trent Johnson, he had 1 reception for 13 receiving yards and a receiving touchdown. Top players from Evergreen, running back Austin Gillen, 6 carries, 42 rushing yards, and 1 rushing touchdown. So, guys, thoughts on the Evergreen at Patrick Henry game?
After last week, coming out of the Columbus Grove loss over there, a good rebound win by Coach I and the Patriots. I guess one thing that just stands out is you see Lincoln Krieger with just 2 of 6, so like Coach I may have dialed it back and concentrated on the run a little bit. But Grant Smith, another quality game for him, 11 carries, 133 yards. Doesn't quite get the carries that Houston Miranda did last year, but every game he steps up and has a quality game back there in the backfield. But I'm sure it was a rough week of practice for the Patriots after they have 6 turnovers against Columbus Grove.
Yeah. The one stat that really sticks out to me is the turnovers. Right. That was something last week. They had 6 turnovers against a really, really good Columbus Grove team. That tells me that they're very well coached. You can tell Coach I and the whole coaching staff that they were preaching that all week long to really make good decisions with the football. Because at the end of the day, when you make 5, 6, I don't care, even 2 or 3 turnovers, and the margin of difference is that large, it's hard to win a football game. Whether you're playing Marion Local or you're playing School of the Blind, either or, you can't have that many turnovers. And they really did a nice job at going out there and correcting it this week.
Probably made the kids go home and sleep with the ball.
Yeah.
Take it home with you, sleep with it.
Like the program?
Yeah.
I think that's what that was in, yeah.
Well, one thing, too, is, we're talking about the GMC being really competitive. You take Liberty Center out of the running for NWAL, and the second place in the NWAL is going to be tight. You got Delta, Wauseon sitting there, Patrick Henry. They're all going to be a tight-knit fight for that number 2 spot behind Liberty Center. Now, anything could happen, and Liberty Center could have a bad game against somebody. I think they're quite the powerhouse this year, as they've shown against Archbold this past week, kind of showing their force right out of the gate in conference play. But Patrick Henry's definitely not a team to sleep on in the conference.
Yep.
Yeah, and I still don't think Evergreen is either. I think Evergreen's going to give some teams some trouble later on in the season. Do I think Evergreen is at that point where they can compete with some of the top dogs? Probably not there yet, but they're much improved. Coach Bach's doing really good things. They do have some really good athletes over there, and I think as long as Evergreen keeps continuing to learn from their mistakes, I think they're going to still win a handful of games to finish out the season. Let's move on to the next game. Looking at WBL, looking at Defiance at Van Wert. Defiance ended up winning this one 41-14, making a statement in this game. Halftime score, Defiance was up 28-7. Total yards, Defiance had 397 yards, 248 rushing, so really got that offensive attack going. Van Wert, 249 yards, 126 passing. Looking at turnovers, Defiance had 1 interception. Van Wert had 2 with 1 fumble and 1 interception. Some top players from Defiance, running back Anthony Wilder, back-to-back weeks with excellent performances, 11 carries, 142 rushing yards, 12.9 yards a carry with 2 rushing touchdowns. Wide receiver Jordan Wright really outdid himself this game. 2 receptions, 75 receiving yards. He had 2 receiving touchdowns. He had 1 rush for 55 rushing yards, rushing touchdown. He had 1 interception on defense, and one of the receptions he had from a Brez Zipfel to Wright connection. They had a nice little shimmy and shake move on a long ball that ended up scoring for a touchdown. So an excellent job out of those 2 there. Looking at Van Wert, some top players. Quarterback Briston Wise was 13-28, 123 passing yards, 1 interception with 26 carries, 114 rushing yards, and 1 rushing touchdown. And wide receiver Keaton Welch, 6 receptions, 53 receiving yards. So, guys, thoughts of the Defiance at Antwerp game?
I think the Bulldogs were ready to come back and get another win after their slow start. But they've been playing well the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, talk about just one play. The play against St. Mary's could turn around the entire season.
Right.
I mean, they're like a completely different ball club here than what they were in the first 2 games. And, yeah, Coach Cooper has the Dogs playing great. I'll admit, like, I didn't buy into him going into last week after the win against St. Mary's. Then you see this score, and you're like, boy, that was at Van Wert. Eye-opening victory on the road for the Bulldogs. Then you look at the remaining schedule, who they have coming up, not to look ahead. Obviously, Coach Cooper will have a focus on each individual week, but you're sitting here looking now, and you're like, boy, oh boy. Like, is there a game on here that you could say that Defiance can't win? So, as I said, just one play and just that extreme high of knocking off St. Mary's, and Bulldogs stand at 2-2, but at the end of the year, could they be 7-3, 8-2? Absolutely.
And I know we don't really cover WBL all that much, but you look at the schedule, and Salina's probably the only other competitive one. I know OG's kind of making a little bit of noise as well, which we'll get to them later. But you look at some of the offense from Defiance, and one stat I didn't read off was Brez Zipfel was 6-12, 149 passing yards with 3 passing touchdowns. We saw over the last few weeks, he had a little bit of trouble, but he's really grown from those mistakes. And anytime you can go out there and throw 3 touchdown passes and not turn the ball over, that's a great performance. And he did just that. But I know this game, we had talked in the kickoff show, a lot of these kids were excited to get back here and win the game against Van Wert when we had Defiance on the show, because last season, if you guys remember, Defiance lost by 1 point, 42-43. So nice little revenge game for the Bulldogs there. But I was just looking at some other key points to talk about. Of the 6 touchdowns Defiance scored, 5 came on plays of 49-plus yards.
Ooh, wow.
So talk about the big play and the effect it had on the game. I think it just goes to show, if you're Van Wert, you got to eliminate those big plays. I mean, those are momentum killers, and once you start letting one go after another, it adds and adds and adds, and it's hard to get out of that hole when you let the Bulldogs dig a 12-foot hole.
Yeah.
So
you get to those big plays like that. That's just especially on passing plays, you typically get caught with somebody with the nose in the backfield, defensive backs not paying attention, peeks in the backfield for a minute, and next thing you know, he's over top and he's gone. Then it takes a good throw from the quarterback to throw it out there, let him catch it. But yeah, they definitely got 5 plays of 49-plus.
Yeah,
whether they scored or not, that's still big plays.
Anytime you have somebody like Anthony Wilder on your team, I don't care where he lines up, backfield, out wide, in the slot. I mean, he's just a lightning in a bottle every single time he gets the ball. He can literally take it to the house every single play.
Well, 12.9 yards a carry. Holy smokes. Just keep giving him the ball.
Yep.
Well, talking about something off the field, too, is it's really cool to see when you drive downtown Defiance. Like, the cheerleaders go out every Thursday night or even maybe Tuesday night, something like that, paint up all the windows downtown. It's really cool to see the culture surrounding Defiance football now. In the last couple of years here, we've really seen the support skyrocket for Defiance, and it's awesome to see.
Yeah, I think it's the State Bank, the one that's to the left as you're driving through Defiance. They have, like, big, huge figures of the Bulldog players on there with like their name on the back of the jersey. That's pretty awesome. I mean, it's got to be 4 foot tall. It is pretty nice. Whoever takes care of that.
Yeah, and I tell you what, kudos to the girls, whoever's doing that, the cheerleaders.
I think the parents. I drove through downtown, and I
Yeah.
think the parents are out there, and they kind of put up all the stuff. But
whoever the artist is that does that stuff, there's some neat, really neat looking stuff down through there. So you drive
That's
around.
great.
yeah, it's really cool. And then looking at the flip side, looking at Van Wert, I think if they just eliminate the big play, I think it makes this game much more competitive. Right. And they're going to have to. You look ahead at the schedule, Van Wert. They kind of hit a little bit of a bump in the road, sitting at 1-3 on the season, 0-3 in conference play, and the road only gets tougher the next 2 weeks. Looking at conference, you got Wapakoneta next week and St. Mary's the following, 2 of the other big dogs in the WBL. So Van Wert's going to have to figure things out in a hurry. We know that they have some talented players. Briston Wise is a great athlete as well, but it takes a whole team to try to figure things out, and hopefully the Cougars can get that figured out in a hurry. Let's move on to the next game. We were at this game on Friday looking at Tenora at Hicksville. Big Green Meadows conference matchup here, kicking off conference play. Tenora ended up winning this one 37-13. Halftime score, Tenora was up 30-13. Looking at total yards, Tenora had 402 yards of offense, 217 rushing. Hicksville had 273 yards with 188 passing. Looking at turnovers, Tenora had 2 with 1 fumble and 1 interception, and Hicksville had 1 interception as well. Some top players from Tenora. Quarterback Owen Farrell, the sophomore, did a really, really nice job coming out there for his first varsity start. 15-26, 58%, 185 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns. He did have 1 interception. Running back Dominic Graziani, for him going and switching positions from quarterback to running back, I just want to give him a shout-out because that takes a lot out of a player. If you've been the starting quarterback for the last 2.5, 3 years and coach tells you, hey, we're going to move you over to another position. Whether he comes out and says it or not, that's going to affect you. Any kind of athlete knows that. But he did a really, really nice job this game. 15 carries, 117 rushing yards with 7.8 yards a carry, 1 rushing touchdown. So just a really nice performance out of him. And wide receiver kicker Jacob Bishop, 3 receptions, 76 receiving yards, 1 receiving touchdown. He was 3-3 on field goals of 21, 35, 30, and was 4-4 on PATs. So obviously that Archbold field goal did not bother him at all. So he came out there and was lights out in the kicking game. Hicksville, some top players. And I'm going to say this right now. I told you guys before, and I had talked to Coach Becker in the post-game interviewing him. Wide receiver Brant Langham should be towards the top for conference offensive player of the year. Excellent athlete. I mean, he was all over the field. I'm going to read his stat lines here. 7 receptions, 171 receiving yards, 92-yard kickoff return as well for a touchdown. He is lightning. He's electric. He makes plays for this offense. And when you think of player of the conference, offensive player of the year, yeah, Hicksville obviously has some losses, and so does Tenora. But you talk about an MVP type player. This Brant Langham had really showed out, and he did a nice job on Friday night. It was like Tenora just couldn't stop him. I mean, he ran slant routes, cutting across the middle. I'm trying to think what else. He had a big long reception that he about busted out for a touchdown too.
Yeah, he had the one there at the end that I thought he was going to score on, but Mason McQuillan chased him down.
Yeah.
Crazy.
But probably one of the faster kids in the Green Meadows Conference. But, definitely want to give that kid a shout-out. Excellent job out of him. Really impressed me with his skill set. Quarterback Garrett Turnbull was 12-26, 188 passing yards. He did have 1 interception. And another fun stat, all but 17 passing yards were to Brant Langham this game.
Just seeing that.
Talk about the impact that those two had. Running back Cross Zedike, 16 carries, 62 rushing yards with 1 rushing touchdown. But, guys, we were all there on Friday. What were your thoughts of the Tenora at Hicksville game?
Talking about that, Brant Langham, I mean, he had 171 yards on only 7 receptions. You're averaging 24 yards a catch. That just speaks volumes. And I know a lot of that is yards after catch, which is fantastic. But anytime you can make that kind of a dent, on your offense, it's huge, especially when, everybody knew who Brant Langham was coming in. I'm sure Tenora was keen on him, yet they still were able to get him the ball in open field and get him those yards, which is impressive.
Yeah, it was an exciting game there at the beginning. With you mentioned the change from Dom going to running back. First play from scrimmage, breaks out, runs it down for 30 yards or whatever it was for a touchdown. Yep. which was awesome to see. But, the one big thing in the game, Tenora never really started from behind the sticks, which was a big problem that Tenora had been having. It seemed like they were always, second and long or second and something, it seemed like this week, play calling was completely different in my eyes. They used Dom, they ran the ball, they established that run with Dom, moved him around some, and then that opened up everything else. And Owen Farrell in my opinion, did a fantastic job with some of his reads looking downfield. We'll see what it looks like this coming week. The one thing that scares me is, Sonora faces Fairview this week. It was the the receiving yards they gave up. 171 yards to the one receiver. I think he was pretty much guarded most of the time by Dom. So, and you would think you got one of those, you're going to blanket him over top with somebody else. He's still got 171 yards. So. But, great win for Sonora.
Yeah, I had brought up during the broadcast Friday night, Owen Farrell's play. He did not look like a sophomore out there on Friday night. He came out, was very poised in the pocket. We saw a couple plays where he had dropped back. Pressure came. He stepped up in the pocket, kept his eyes downfield, and made a lot of nice connections. One of them, I believe, was to Jacob Bishop for a long touchdown. That's not something you typically see out of a guy getting his first start, and just as a young sophomore, too. So just that really impressed me out of his play at the quarterback position. And then the other thing I wanted to bring up from this game was Hicksville's offense. I kind of like that offense. We had talked during the game, all the misdirection and the motions and the moving pieces that they had. It presented a lot of eye candy for that defense. And, man, I tell you what, the guys on Tenora had to be locked in because there was plays where they had a guy running in motion, they had a misdirection, a fake handoff one way, the quarterback would be handing it off another, and it was hard to follow. You know how many times it faked me out as the cameraman? I couldn't follow where the ball was going. So that really impressed me, a very dynamic offense. And I can tell you one thing for sure, that Hicksville is going to give some teams some fits here down the road. We had talked coming into this game, what are we going to see out of Hicksville? We saw that earlier this year, they played some tough teams, Patrick Henry, things like that. Or maybe they didn't play Patrick Henry. I can't remember if they played this year or was last year. But regardless, what kind of team we're going to get, and I think Hicksville's got some athletes. I think they've got the pieces and the coaching to make some noise in the GMC, and that could really be one of the teams in the Green Meadows Conference that comes out there on a Friday night and pulls off an upset against a Fairview, a Paulding, an Edgerton, one of these teams that are supposed to be towards the top, and it wouldn't surprise me one bit.
You were right. They did play Patrick Henry week 1.
Did they? Yeah, I thought they did, but I couldn't remember if they. I knew last year they did, but I couldn't remember this year. But thanks for verifying that.
Yeah, probably the best overall game the Rams have played on offense and defense. Would say special teams, but then they gave up that 93-yard touchdown kickoff return to Langham. But yeah, offensively, probably the best they've played in 2024. Give Dominic a lot of credit. I mean, you've been a starter for 3 years at quarterback, and all of a sudden, your coach pulls you aside and says, we need to make a change. But is it because Dominic was a bad quarterback, or is it because this move would actually make the team better? I mean, are you one-dimensional with Dominic at quarterback? I mean, I'm going to probably.
Well, the play calling was.
Yes.
No doubt about that.
But you put Dominic in a different position, and I give that kid a lot of credit. I mean, he could sulk but we watched him through pregame warm-ups, and he was going through the reps and everything. And to come out, take the first carry, basically untouched for a touchdown from 31 yards out.
That was pretty awesome.
But he just has a whole different dynamic. He just adds that to the Rams offense now. If you take him from the quarterback to put him as a running back, and he can do, how many passes did he catch out of the backfield? 4 or 5?
Yeah.
He had one that probably would have went for 40, 50 yards, but I think Jacob Bishop accidentally tripped him up on the sideline there. But I don't look at it as a penalty at Dom for bad play. I just look at it as if I'm a coach and I'm struggling on offense to move the ball and score points, and I'm probably losing sleep over this. Like, what can I do different? And if I take my best athlete to put him at running back, and that opens up everything now, I mean, you just can't focus on Dom as a quarterback. Right. Now if you put Farrell back there, now my passing game opens up. I have a running game that I have electric running back there that can take it to the house on every single play. I just think this change, whether it be necessary, it's just better for the team as a whole because it's an entirely different Sonora Rams offense.
Absolutely.
I'm about to say, too, not only players moving around, but I think of play selection and play calling.
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
That was the best offensive call game that we've seen all year out of the Rams. Things were flowing. They had a really good feel to it there, and we saw that was the most rushing yards the Rams have had all year, and we had talked about that over and over. I don't care if you pass the ball a million times. We had that kind of discussion with Coach Rakes. You got to be able to run the ball, especially when you need to, and I felt like they were in control of the offense most of the time. A little bit in the second half, we saw kind of ran into a hiccup. I felt like we were forcing some things in terms of the offense, but I think that's the one thing. The dynamic of the offense and the play calling changed a little bit on Friday night, and I think it played to the benefit of the Rams.
Well, I think
go ahead, AJ.
I think the biggest thing is it gives Dom a little bit of a rest between plays that they use him, because before he's running back and forth, getting plays in. He's running the ball about every third play. When he's not running the ball, he's throwing the ball, he's scrambling half the time. So now it lets him get a little bit of a breather between plays, so that way when they use him, he's fresh, he's ready to go, he's ready to make those big runs, and take some of the responsibility off of him, because those plays where he's not necessarily getting the ball, he doesn't have to worry about now the game depends on me every single play, whereas it did last year. Now it kind of spreads the responsibility out a little more evenly across all of the offense, which I think is just beneficial, like you said, Keith, to everybody. It benefits the whole team to get him out from behind center.
Yep.
And Alex Schablin, since he's come back from the injury, has just played dynamic as well.
Jeez.
Homeyer, I mean, the Rams defense up front, Hunter Bosselman.
Made a couple nice plays on
those
defense.
guys have just played great, really, the last 3 weeks. So give them Rams defense share of the cake as well, because they deserve it.
Yep. All right, let's move on to the next game here. Looking at Napoleon at Anthony Wayne. And Anthony Wayne ended up winning this one 35-10. Halftime score, Anthony Wayne had 13. Napoleon had 10, so this one was tight halfway through. Total yards, Anthony Wayne had 471 yards of total offense with 343 rushing yards. Napoleon had 222 with 161 passing. Turnovers, Anthony Wayne had 1 interception. Napoleon had 2 interceptions. Looking at Napoleon, wide receiver Trey Rubenstein had 5 receptions for 60 receiving yards. And quarterback Owen Espinoza was 13 of 21, 161 passing yards, 1 passing touchdown. And 1 interception. I'm not sure if that was 1 or 2 for him. And then Hayden Grohl had the lone touchdown reception for 8 yards. So, guys, thoughts on the Napoleon at Anthony Wayne game?
Well, when I look at that, I mean, you look at the stats. Trey Rubenstein doesn't have a touchdown reception. Edgars only has 61 yards rushing. Anthony Wayne did their homework, shut down their 2 playmakers, and made Napoleon look for other spots. I mean, that's just obvious by the stat line. But, you have down here, it looks like Owen Espinoza was sacked 4 times. That's going to be a problem in anybody's book.
Yeah.
Anybody's offense if you're getting pressure like that. But that was the biggest thing that I saw from the stat line is, they kind of looks like Anthony Wayne kind of took care of Trey Rubenstein and Eggers, and that led to their victory.
And coming into this game, everyone knows that Anthony Wayne's kind of the big dog of that division of the NLL. And coming into this game, I thought Napoleon would make it competitive. And we saw that in the first half. Anthony Wayne was only up 13-10. Yep. Napoleon's hanging right there, similar to what we saw in the Liberty Center game. So we know Napoleon can hang with some of these teams, but it's just like the second half they came out and they just couldn't get anything going. But, give props to Anthony Wayne because they made some quality halftime adjustments and ended up scoring, 22 points in the second half. So really did a nice job there. But, if you're getting sacked 4 times and you like to throw the ball and you have the career passing yard leader of your school, it's hard when he can't get the ball off and you're just getting pressured. But I'm sure Anthony Wayne was definitely bringing the heat that game.
Well, one thing, that first half, Anthony Wayne is a very solid ball club. And for Napoleon to be hanging in there by only 3 points, down 3 points going into halftime, you've got to be ecstatic at that point to be able to, last year Napoleon kind of struggled in this game, but this year they hung in there all the way to halftime, which is awesome. If they can just make those changes and keep up with Anthony Wayne in that second half, that's a heck of a win if they would have been able to come away with that. So the fact that they fell to Anthony Wayne isn't a surprise, and I don't think it should be like a big season dampener by any means. Just walk away from that one, take away the pluses that you can, and move into next week.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm just looking at Napoleon's schedule for the rest of the year in conference play. Next week they have Springfield, then at Fremont Ross, at Toledo Boucher, at Oregon Clay, versus Bowling Green, versus Southview. I'm looking. Clay's going to be tough, and I know we don't cover a lot of these schools. Not sure how Fremont Ross is this year, but You look 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Probably 5 of those. Like they're going to win 5+ games, I would say, to end the season.
Yep.
I mean, looking at some of the teams and competition they play.
Sneak back into the playoffs with 5 wins.
Yeah, they should win 6 games easily, I would think.
And the good thing is they don't have to play Glenville because Glenville's not in the region anymore. So at least that maybe gives Napoleon a chance to get out of the second round. Like the last 2 years they've matched up with them, and that's just unbelievable. But, yeah, it's a good thing that they don't have Glenville in the region. So, yeah, I think Napoleon's still going to be all right. Yep. You know, they played a tough non-conference. When you played Defiance in Liberty Center, they got the big win over rival Defiance, which they'd struggled the last couple of years. Liberty Center, they hung with them until halftime, and then they get off to a good track with Northview winning 53-0. I think they're still going to right the ship. I think they're going to be just fine the rest of the season. Coach Swery has done a nice job over there. That was the big question to start the season. We know the last couple of years, Napoleon's a second-half type of season team, and to start the season, they went 500, 2-2. So that's already better than what they've done in years past. So I think if they just keep building off of it, and once you get one win in conference and you start building one after another, it's just going to train into playoffs, and I think they'll have some success. So let's move into the next game here. Looking at Elida at Ottawa Glandorf, and OG won this game 28-7, a nice win from OG. Another key point from this game, Ottawa Glandorf head coach Ken Schreiner achieved win number 200, and not many people can say that in the area, let alone the state of Ohio. So congratulations to Coach Schreiner. It's good to see him get that number 200. Looking at halftime from this game, Ottawa Glandorf was up 14-7. Total yards, OG had 291 yards, 254 rushing, run that rock. Elida had, I did not have stats for them. Turnovers, Ottawa Glandorf had 1 fumble. Elida had 1 interception. Some top players from OG, running back Grant Evers, 17 carries, 135 rushing yards with 1 rushing touchdown. He had 1 interception on defense. Quarterback Peyton Coleman, 4 of 10, 37 passing yards with 1 passing touchdown. He also added 7 carries for 33 rushing yards. And then Brinkman and Rump each had 1 rushing touchdown apiece, with Dueling rounding out the scoring with 1 receiving touchdown. So, guys, thoughts on the Elida at Ottawa Glandorf game?
Yeah, congratulations to Coach Schreiner. But, yeah, good to see OG back, being competitive, and you know, you're halfway through your season, I guess. Well, not quite halfway and going into this game, but you're 2-2, just starting your conference schedule, and looks like looking ahead, there's a few wins left on the schedule, so OG could be sniffing at a playoff berth this year.
Yeah, I picked against OG. I think I picked Elida. So, but yeah, I mean, OG's. It's nice to see them getting back to get some wins under the belt. So, I know they've struggled in the past, and you know, so it's just nice to see them get back on the win column.
And I'm just looking at last year's schedule for OG. And at this point, last season, they didn't even have a win. So to already have 2 wins on the year is much improved. Elida last year, looking at that game, OG lost 30-8. So we're already seeing some improvement. And again, it's a common theme that we've seen around the area. Teams that have maybe struggled the last couple of years, really getting back to their roots and just running the football. And I think that's something we had kind of had that discussion. If you're struggling, I feel like you can kind of get away with some things if you run the ball. As long as you put a body on a body, you don't necessarily need to have, and I'm not saying that OG doesn't have superior athletes, but it kind of lets you, I don't know, at least move the ball down the field, because if you don't have a quarterback, good receivers, it's hard to move the ball if you can't have guys passing and catching. So at least with running the ball, you pick up a couple yards here and there each time, you move the chains, and then good things happen. So we've been seeing that a lot out of teams in Northwest Ohio, and a lot of these teams that have had minimal wins the last couple of years have really kind of turned things around this season. So it's good to see OG get back on track and get in the win column here.
Just looking at their schedule, boy, they got a tough schedule coming up: St. Mary's, Lima Bath, then they play Van Wert, Salina, Lima, Shawnee, and then finish the season at Defiance.
Yeah, I think OG is going to find a lot about themselves here the second half of the season.
Going to have to pull her together.
All right, let's move on to the next game. Last game here, we have Montpelier at Van Loo. Montpelier won 40-8, first win of the season, so it's good to get the monkey back off the back for Coach Robinson. Looking at total yards, Montpelier had 353 with 216 passing. Van Loo had 147 with 134 rushing. Turnovers, Montpelier had 1, Van Loo had 0. Some top players for Montpelier. Quarterback Hayden Sharps was 8 of 15, good for 53%, 219 passing yards with 4 passing touchdowns. Running back linebacker Griffin Cooley had 1 carry for 80 rushing yards. He had 1 rushing touchdown, 2 receptions for 85 receiving yards, 1 receiving touchdown. And on the defensive side of the ball, he had 4 tackles and 1 pick six on defense. So Griffin did it all last Friday. Wide receiver Wesley Hartsock, nice game from him. 2 receptions, 33 receiving yards, and 2 receiving touchdowns. So the only 2 receptions he had were both touchdowns. So, guys, thoughts on the Locomotives win against Van Loo?
Yeah, I mean, as you said, Logan, good to get the monkey off the back for Coach Robinson and Montpelier. They just had a rough start coming off that fantastic year they had last year. But, yeah, play Van Loo. But no matter who you play, as long as you come out with a quality win here. Hayden Sharp's back on track, 219 yards, four scores. Got the running game. Looked like it took off a little bit. So hopefully you see Montpelier pick up some wins here coming up. But, boy, oh, boy, got Eden coming up and Ottawa Hills. But I just wish they were in a different conference, honestly. It's a whole different conversation. But you see Montpelier and you see some of the schools you play, and you don't even recognize half the teams on their schedule. It's just, boy, if you just get those boys into a decent conference, because, BBC's not really a football conference at all. So, what do you do?
I'd love to see Montpelier in the Green Meadows Conference. Just add a team.
Yep.
Don't kick anybody out. Just add a team. You know what I mean? And
well, then what do you do because you have 9 teams instead of 8?
You do just like Defiance does, and you only play 2 non-conference games.
Yeah. Well, I feel like if you would add a team, would you want to add another team to make it an even 10? Is a WBL 10 teams? Is that correct?
I'm not sure.
Think. But regardless, I don't know. I like having 3 non-conference games. Kind of lets you feel out the waters for some other teams in the area. But it'd be interesting though. That's a good point.
Yeah. Griffin Cooley, 1 carry, 80 yards, averaging 80 yards a carry. That's pretty awesome.
It's small sample size, but still, that's a heck of a rush there.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's 10 in the WBL.
Good for Montpelier. Coach Robinson getting a win.
Yep.
All right. Well, we're going to wrap things up for the game recaps. We're going to take a break to hear from our sponsors, and we'll be right back. BSN Sports is your go-to business for purchasing uniforms, equipment, spiritwear, and anything else your athletic program needs, giving you more time to impact lives on the field. With over 1,200 sales professionals who live, work, and serve in your community, you're always just a short drive or phone call away. Be sure to give your local sales rep and Jim Garris a call for any of your athletic supply needs. Optimal Performance Fitness is your go-to gym in Northwest Ohio, providing group fitness classes, personal training, and sports performance sessions for area athletes. Located in Napoleon, Ohio. Give them a call today at 419-438-7265.
Baden Stevens Body Shop is your #1 voted auto body shop in Northwest Ohio. We are your experts on all makes and models and are the only Chrysler, Ford, and GM certified collision repair center in the area. Located in Jewel, Ohio. Give us a call today at 419-497-3111 to schedule your free estimate. Come check out the Baden Stevens Body Shop difference.
Back on the NWO Sports Podcast, and we are on to Play of the Week. Again, many great plays were sent in, and because we want to recognize those plays, right now we're going to feature an honorable mention selection. So that's something I want to start doing from here on out because these plays and these players are very deserving of it. So we're going to list those right now.
Punting from their own 11-yard line.
Isaac Orr!
That was blocked! Grabbed in the end zone! He
Yeah!
safety!
Wow, Isaac Orr
Orr
with the
got it!
block punt.
Yes,
What a
Isaac
play.
Orr, a man that continues to come back and play here, play.
As I always say, there can only be one. Play of the week this week is going to go to Scotty Krantz from Edgerton. And looking at this clip, I showed these guys, and it was unbelievable, this punt return that he had. With the game tied up at 21-21 in the fourth quarter, Edgerton started their second half comeback. They were down 14-0 at half, And in the fourth quarter in crunch time, Edgerton's Scotty Krantz steps up to turn up a huge 66-yard punt return into a touchdown to put Edgerton on top. And I said, there goes Chef Krantz slicing and dicing the Antwerp punt team. He did an excellent job. He juked out probably half the team, it seems like. But this just goes to show why Scotty Krantz is one of the most explosive players in the Green Meadows Conference this season. Excellent job out of him. And this is a play like you'd see out of a video game. So it was just unbelievable to watch this and break this down. So, guys, you saw the clip. What were your thoughts on Scotty Krantz's punt return?
You pretty much said it, Logan. He just kind of sliced, kept going back through there. The only thing that, I kind of mentioned off air there, but it's just when you cut back like that, it's, sometimes you struggle, kids not holding or not ending up with the block on the back or something like that. So congrats to Edgerton for not getting caught, with, throwing some laundry on the field. But, man, what a run.
Yeah, I mean, you can see the entire bench just explode, especially this. You fall back from a 14-0 deficit, and you're now tied, and he takes us to the house, and that just adds a whole nother element to your excitement. You're like, we can take this game now. Come on. And, well, obviously they did. So
and that's a dagger to them.
Yep.
It is.
Antwerp.
Oh, yeah. That's a huge momentum swing. And plays like that, that very well could have just really boosted them up over the edge in the fourth quarter, gave them that momentum that they needed, and they ended up winning by a few scores. So I tell you one thing, though, I'm excited when Sonora plays Edgerton and watch him play. I remember last year, I believe he had like a diving catch that was pretty phenomenal as well. Yep. And it's like wherever he's at on the field, you better keep eyes on him because he's going to make some big plays and some spectacular plays. So, like I said, I mean, that was like a video game highlight right there. So, nice job to Scotty Krantz and the Edgerton Bulldogs for winners of Play of the Week. So, nice job out of those. Again, each week, guys, keep sending those in, and we'll keep featuring them. Even if you don't make it, I want to start honoring those honorable mentions, so we'll throw some of those better clips into the podcast as well. So, nice job from that group. We are moving on to Player of the Week from Week 4. A large list this week, and it was a little bit tougher of a discussion, I would say, between all of us to try to figure out who it was. We had a running of a few players, but nonetheless, I will read the list of the honorable mentions or the players that made the list, and then we'll kind of talk about who caught our eye, and then I will release the Player of the Week brought to you by BSN Sports. So we are looking at running back linebacker from Edgerton, Joel Walkup. Quarterback Fairview, William Zedike. Wide receiver Hicksville, Brant Langham. Linebacker Paulding, Jack Woods. Quarterback Liberty Center, Grady Miller. Running back Delta, Landon Littermoot. Wide receiver Defiance, Jordan Wright. Running back Defiance, Anthony Wilder. Quarterback Montpelier, Hayden Sharps. Wide receiver Eden, Kendall Briggle. Quarterback Eden, Kyler Sapp. Quarterback Columbus Grove, Riley Sauter. And running back Columbus Grove, Trenton Barraza. Trenton's always making the list. All right, guys, who wants to kick things off?
For me, I just looked at Liberty Center's stats, and one thing about, Grady Miller, as they said last year, Liberty Center kind of took Archbold out behind the woodshed and gave him a good whooping. But, looking at the stat line, 16 players registered a rushing attempt for Liberty Center. So, some of those stats are going to be really skewed. I mean, the 51-0, there was probably a running clock as soon as they started the second half. So Liberty Center's stat lines may not be looking as impressive as some of the others, but if those guys would get, because we talked, they're probably playing a maybe 2 full quarters, quarter and a half, then coming out, and then playing a drive in the third quarter, and with a win like that, they're probably done. So that was just impressive for me. That 16 players. I don't know too many teams that have 16 running backs.
Keith.
Oh yeah, for me, Kendall Briggle again for me. I mean, this kid's just lighting it up. Like a couple years ago, Gannon Ripke set a lot of records for Eden, but Kendall Briggle, just a sophomore.
I was going to say, I thought someone said he's just a sophomore, so he's tearing things up this year.
Every game he's got almost double-digit receptions. This one he had 13 for 165, 2 more touchdowns. So for me, it was Kendall Briggle.
I think for me, I'm going to go with Riley Sauter. He's coming out. This is his first game as quarterback for Columbus Grove. Last week, Trenton Barraza had to step into that role after the injury to Landon Best. But he comes out and fills the role very well. Came out and threw for 186 yards and 3 passing touchdowns. So it wasn't like he just kind of filled a role where they just hand the ball off to Barraza and let him carry it. Like, Riley actually had to come out there and do some work, which is actually really impressive for a quarterback to come out there and do that in his first game, behind center. So that's very impressive.
Yeah, and AJ's valid point. And then that was a 3-0 game. Both teams are 3-0. Spencerville was 3-0, and they were hosting the game. So to go on the road, that's a huge game for Riley Sauter.
Yeah, especially to open up conference play in the NWC conference. So it's a huge win and a huge performance out of him. Well, there's only one, as we always say. And the NWO Sports Player of the Week, presented by BSN Sports, is going to go to running back linebacker Edgerton Joel Walkup. Anytime you come out of the game, you have 20 carries, 166 rushing yards, good for 8.3 yards a carry, 3 rushing touchdowns. And then on the defensive side, you're contributing 2 with 12 tackles. He had 1 interception and 1 sack as well. That's really helping your team out quite a bit, especially when you're down at halftime like we had talked against Antwerp. He came out, was a huge contributor, and really helped put the Edgerton Bulldogs over the edge to get that win and keep Edgerton's conference play hopes alive. You're undefeated still in the conference, and that's what you need each week, and Joel Walkup did just that. So he's very deserving of the BSN Sports Player of the Week. And BSN Sports Player of the Week will receive NWO Sports gear courtesy of BSN Sports. And we just want to thank sales rep Jim Garris and Rob Held for being great supporters of coverage of our athletics in Northwest Ohio. So really appreciate those guys for hooking us up and helping get these players some gear. So congratulations again to Edgerton's Joel Walkup. All right, we are going to move on to the next part here. We're looking at power rankings from Week 5. And as always, I will list off the teams, and these guys will try to roast me and see if I'm right, I'm wrong, or if it's indifferent. So let's get things kicked off. We're going to start with number 26. We're looking at North Central. 25, Swanton. 24, Hilltop. 23, Ayersville. 22, Montpelier. 21, Bryan.
Yeah, I think you're good.
I'm okay with that.
Yep. Well, Ayersville gave Fairview at least a fight through about 14 minutes. So, but pretty accurate, Logan.
All right, looking at number 20, Wayne Trace. Number 19, Hicksville. Number 18, Wauseon. Number 17, Antwerp. Number 16, Evergreen. And we'll save the top 15.
I'm still okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I would say so too.
Whoa, what's going on here?
I know. Kind of odd. Usually I'm hearing a lot of grief from you guys, but
No, not yet.
I think you start getting to the halfway point, and like I've said before too, I think teams really start to sort themselves out in this ranking as the season goes on. So we're going to look at the top 15. Number 15, Archbold. Number 14, Edgerton. Number 13, Tenora. Number 12, Lipsick. Number 11, Van Wert. We'll save the top 10.
I think I could see Edgerton maybe being ranked ahead of Tenora at this point. They're on a conference schedule. I'm not sure, where it matched up. I think Tenora's, non-conference schedule where they were 0-3 through was a little tougher, and I think Tenora was a little closer on some of those losses. But they are 3-1, so I think they deserve the nudge over Tenora. It'll sort itself out in a few weeks here, but other than that, I think everything's pretty accurate.
Yeah, for me, looking at this and when I kind of rank the teams, Edgerton, Archbold, and Tenora were kind of right there. I didn't really know how to play them out. I think the big thing for me is why did I put Tenora ahead of Archbold? Well, we know what happened when they played each other. Right. And then I looked at the differential between Tenora and Liberty Center and Liberty Center and Archbold.
Yep.
And there's a pretty significant difference in the scoring there. So that's what led to my decision with those. Edgerton's kind of hanging out in the middle, but I think those 3 teams are kind of pretty equal in how they've played to this point in the season.
For me, just moving on from here for the rest of the season, and I see Tenora 1-3. Yeah, they're 1-3, but we all know that they're not 1-3. Yeah,
so, actually, interesting stat.
We mentioned that. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I looked up on Drew Pasture's website, Fantastic 50, which we kind of looked at before. That's always interesting because he's got his whole analytic breakdown of, what percent, whether it's Tenora supposed to win this game by 8 points, lose by whatever, ranking the region that they're in. And even though Tenora is 1-3, obviously sitting towards the bottom of the region due to points, because you can only get so many points with one win, they still had Tenora ranked 7th in that region.
Wow.
So, that's taking strength of schedule and
hosting a playoff game.
Yeah.
But, we'll see how that plays out towards the end.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to look at the top 10 here. Coming in at number 10, cracking the top 10, is Ottawa Glandorf. Number 9, Paulding. Number 8, Fairview. Number 7, Patrick Henry. Number 6, Eden. We're going to save the top 5. I know there's one team that I'm sure you guys are going to kind of look at.
I don't know. I don't have much to say.
I think the one for me that's kind of glaring is Ottawa Glandorf.
Yeah. I mean,
I know they beat Elida. I'm trying to think who their other win is against this year. But they're making some noise. I think they're playing really good football right now, and obviously they play one of the tougher schedules in the WBL. So
they got a tough game this week coming up against St. Mary's, I believe. But
yeah, which that will reveal more on where they should be. But kind of look at some other teams around them. Van Wert has kind of struggled here the last couple of weeks, so I think it's rightfully so that Ottawa Glandorf's got to be climbing the ranks here at this point in the season. So, all right. We're going to look at the top 5. Coming in at number 5 is Defiance. Number 4, Napoleon. Number 3, Delta. Number 2, Columbus Grove. And number 1 for the 5th week in a row is Liberty Center.
I don't know if that's 5th week in a row or like 16th week in a row, because I think they won all season last year too.
Yeah,
I think Liberty Center is just putting the whooping to just about everybody they play. It's been almost 30 points spread between each team they played. I think Napoleon was the closest at 31-7. So they're out there putting some work in this year. And we talked about it last year. We thought after they graduated, all the seniors and everything 2 years ago, that Liberty Center would come out last year and be like, oh, well, they're improving, rebuilding a little bit, and then they end up making a state finals appearance, and then this year they lose all those seniors again. And we come out and we're like, man, this year Liberty Center might be down a little bit because they lost so much, but they come back out and they're looking better than they did last year. It's like,
and guys, looking at their schedule the rest of the way out. I mean, they got PH and Delta. That's it. I mean, Swanton's this week. Then they play Bryan, then PH, then Evergreen. And then they got to play against Delta, who's playing very, very well as well right now. Yep. And then you got Wauseon. I mean, I don't see, unless PH or Delta can pull something off.
I don't know. I look at the NWAL, and I think that matchup between Liberty Center and Delta may be the game of the year in the NWAL.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, both teams could very well come into that game undefeated. Delta's a similar team in the sense of Liberty Center. They play a very physical brand of football under Coach Vickers. They like to run the football, and that's exactly what Liberty Center likes to do. And I did watch a little bit of the Delta and Bryan game. Delta can, in fact, throw the football. Actually, I think there was one play, would have had a passing touchdown, but unfortunately the receiver, ended up dropping it. But quarterback looked nice, and I think Delta's just saving that in their playbook for a time when they need it, and that will probably come when they play Liberty Center. But I feel like Liberty Center, too, is just one of those teams. Yeah, we cover them, but, really I don't throw them in the game recaps too often because when you win by 3 to 5 scores, there's not much to talk about. I mean,
51-0.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically it speaks for itself. But, we always give the kids credit from Liberty Center because, there's a lot of good performers from them. So we always got to throw those guys in for nominees for Player of the Week. And it's just a tough program. I mean, you look at the top 3, Liberty Center, Columbus Grove, and Delta, playing some tough lights-out football right now and really leading the way for Northwest Ohio.
And unfortunately, the only two that we're going to get to see play out of that is Delta and Liberty Center. As much as I would love to see Columbus Grove play Liberty Center, just to see how they match up. But unfortunately, we don't get to see that one.
I don't know. There was a hot take a few weeks ago that talked about Liberty Center and Columbus Grove playing in one of those non-conference games, and I still would like to see that. So
I mentioned that before, so I said do that, have like a military appreciation night like Archibald did, just have something, I don't know, just something cool.
Well, both stadiums' atmospheres, the traditions of the programs.
The flashing lights at both stadiums.
Yeah. Which I don't think we've seen that yet at Liberty Center, but Columbus Groves, man, those colorful lights, those are pretty incredible, and the fact that they sync with music at a high school venue is pretty amazing. Actually, there's some people and fans from Massillon, Ohio, which huge school, and I think they're sponsored by Nike just a few years ago, or it might have been 5 years ago. The Nike helicopters landed on the 50-yard line and dropped off cleats and stuff to the school. And so Massillon's they have all kinds of resources, but everyone's after they saw that video I posted at Columbus Grove, they're like, Massillon needs to do this now, and I'm like, surprised they don't already have that. They literally have an indoor practice facility, and they don't have colorful lights that sync to music. So I'm sure that'll be the next thing that they get. But nope. I think this week the power rankings were pretty fair for the most part.
Agree.
But we're going to move on to Matthew's Player of the Weeks. We can't forget about those. And as we always say, going to Vegas, bring Matthew with you because you're going to be a high roller. So We're looking at the defensive side of the ball, and we are looking at Liberty Center defensive lineman Xander Zeider. And reasoning is Swanton is really struggling on offense through their first 4 games, so I think Zeider will have a big night and stop their running and passing games. So nice job from Matthew for there. And on the offensive side of the ball, Matthew's looking at Columbus Grove, quarterback, running back. Well, now we know running back, Trent Barraza. Reasoning being Delphus Jefferson has really struggled on defense, and I think Barraza will take advantage of their struggles and have a big night. So can't go wrong with those picks. Keep an eye out for those players because they're going to have some big games, as they always do. So, all right. We're going to take a break to hear from our sponsors, and we will be back with everyone's favorite segment, The Hot Takes, presented by BSN Sports. Marco's Pizza is honored to sponsor NWO Sports, serving your pizza of choice in Northwest Ohio. Defiance, Archbold, Wauseon, Delta, Bryan, Napoleon, Paulding, and Montpelier. Order online at marcos.com today. Remax Realty of Defiance has represented Defiance County for nearly 40 years. Located at 1401 South Jefferson Avenue in Defiance, we have 13 agents ready and available to assist you in home buying or selling needs. You can check out all the listings at www.remax419.com or call us at 419-784-3029. Let our years of experience go to work for you. For 26 years, Burkholder Taxidermy has been Northwest Ohio's trusted full-service taxidermist. From game heads to lifelike mounts, we provide exceptional quality and craftsmanship. Preserve your memories with Burkholder Taxidermy, where experience meets excellence. Located at 19331 Buckskin Road, Defiance, Ohio. Give them a call at 419-782-9538. Fairchild Family Chiropractic aims to help families to get better together in the least invasive way possible. Dr. Fairchild focuses on the neck using the Blair technique and Palmer package, adjusting to correct spinal misalignments. Located in Defiance, Ohio. Call Dr. Fairchild today at 419-576-5070 to schedule an appointment. DeLarber Concrete and Hauling is your go-to provider for concrete and hauling needs. Flat work, pole barn floors, driveways, and patios. Hauling services for stone, mulch, and dirt. Call Josh for your free estimate at 419-576-0401. Jimenez Basketball Academy strives to create an atmosphere to cultivate basketball fundamentals in Northwest Ohio youth athletes, offering one-on-one sessions, group sessions, speed and agility training, and much more. Located in Pettisville, Ohio. Call Coach Jesse today at 419-551-8105. Check out Tenora Rams Live. Live events broadcast on YouTube and post-game results, articles, schedules, and more can all be found on tenorarams.com. Feel free to look up their Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram pages as well. Northwest Ohio Basketball hosts premier basketball tournaments for boys in grades 3 to 8 in the area. Upcoming tournaments are right around the corner. Give them a call today at 419-283-5296 or check out their website at nwoball.com. The Drop Zone Pizzeria is the #1 voted pizza restaurant in the region. Check them out for pizza, wings, subs, and more. Located in Ayersville and Stryker, or ask them about their traveling food trailer. Trueland Equipment and Salesman Lauren Brown are your go-to for John Deere equipment in Archbold, Ohio. Mowers, compact tractors, skid loaders, and more. Your sales expert on commercial turf and CCE sales. Give Lauren a call today at 419-445-1565. We're back on the NWO Sports Podcast, and we are on to the Hot Takes presented by BSN Sports. We're going to get things rolling. We got a lot of good ones here tonight. First one we're going to look at is Eden would win the GMC easily. GMC easily in all caps. Ooh.
Yeah.
I don't know about that one. Who wants to kick this one off?
Eden would win some games to win the GMC. This year, maybe. To be honest, maybe this year. I mean, Coach Olin knows what the GMC is all about, and he didn't do so well when he was at Fairview. Sonora beat him a couple times. Just throwing that out there. No, could they win? Yeah, they could probably win the GMC this year, but handedly year after year after year, they'd probably compete.
Well, this year they're 3-0 already because they beat Edgerton, Antwerp, and Hicksville. So they're off to a good start.
Right.
Yeah.
But could they win the GMC easily? Are we just talking this year? I'm assuming that's specifically dated for 2024. To be determined. I mean, Fairview's playing very well. Tenora seems to have found the right answers. We'll see. They already beat Edgerton, so that question's already been answered. So
Yeah, I think for sure they're in the top half. They're definitely in the running. But to win it easily, I don't know about that. I think that's just one of those things with the Bob Olin offense. And really, I mean, I know he lost a couple games at Sonora, but he did have a lot of success in the GMC.
I know he did.
But
no disrespect to him.
Definitely not easily. I think he could definitely win. I think they could win the conference. I think you got to take down one of the big dogs, though, and that's this year it's Fairview, Paulding, Sonora's kind of lingering up there, Edgerton.
Yeah,
but
I beat Edgerton, so I don't know.
That's true. They already did beat Edgerton.
I would love to see Eden and Fairview play. That would both slinging the ball. That'd be the kind of back to the old days where two teams
both Bob Olin offenses,
basically, just slinging it. So.
I feel like that game would probably have 200-plus points combined.
It would never end. It would go into Saturday morning.
Oh, my goodness.
I was saying the game would take forever.
that game would not be done until 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning.
It'd be the game you'd be able to still listen to on the way home, and then when you got home. And then
middle of the third quarter, and it's like 10:30.
Leave it on the radio or on the TV, and it's something you fall asleep. You wake back up in the morning, and they're still playing.
Liberty Center would be at home and in bed before the game got out the second quarter. Running clock, we're already home and in bed. But yeah, no, I don't. This year, I still don't know about easily, but I think they have a shot at winning this year for sure.
100%. Let's look at the next one here. We're looking at D-Phi wins 2 games, and their ego goes all the way up, and they are so overrated.
Ooh, somebody calling you out, Logan. Having them in the top 5.
I don't know. Well, I guess no one can see because I haven't released the power rankings yet. So I guess they're going to find out after this. But no, I mean, I think they're riding sky high right now. They just beat St. Mary's, who was projected to be one of the top teams in the WBL. So you knock off one of them. They had a tough loss to Wapakoneta, which Wapakoneta is going to be at the top of the WBL. But to be overrated, no, I don't think so. You look at Defiance and Napoleon week 1. Defiance could have very easily won that game, and they should have.
Should have won it.
Should have won it.
Just going to say that.
Because I think they missed one of the extra points.
Yep. And then the 2-point conversion or whatever was out of bounds or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, and but you can't take anything away from Napoleon in that game. But, I mean, that was Defiance's game to take. So you look at that. That's one of their losses. Wapakoneta is the other one. Wapakoneta is a powerhouse in the WBL. But just to say they're overrated, no, I don't think so. I think they're going to be right there at the end. And who knows, if someone takes down Wapakoneta, which we've seen in the past, a lot of these teams that sit towards the bottom, middle of the conference, they're headhunting. They're going to go out and they're going to take down the big dog, and then that's when you have 2-3-way ties in a conference. So I'm going to have to disagree with this one. What are your guys' thoughts?
Yeah, I don't think Coach Cooper is going to let anybody look forward or think they're better than they are. I mean, that's just not the way Defiance rolls. And then if Coach Cooper's not there, Coach Beauty is there, probably also somewhere saying, "Hey, boys, just keep your
lurking in the background somewhere."
Absolutely. So those two individuals on site, I don't think will let anybody's head get inflated through any doorways whatsoever. But as I said earlier, when we went through the games recaps, I mean, if the end of the season through week 10, Defiance is 7-3, is anybody really going to be shocked at that, or even 8-2? Yeah. I'm going to say no. I don't agree with that whatsoever.
I think they're sitting in a good spot to, if somebody would knock off Wapak, I think Defiance could be very well sitting there at, it's split between the conference title because, like you said, Keith, they could end up winning out here through the rest of the WBL.
As long as they take care of business each and every week.
They got to make sure they're doing their job each week and not look ahead and not worry about that right now. They can only just play week by week. Yeah. But, the 2 wins that they've got are quality wins. Absolutely. They're not scrub teams that they knocked off. They, Van Wert and St. Mary's are both very, very good programs. And for Defiance to come away with those wins, their egos aren't up there for no reason. I don't even think their ego's really up there, but they deserve the praise for those wins.
Well said.
All right, let's move on to the next hot take, and we kind of discussed this a little bit earlier, but this has been talked about a lot. Is Tenora moving their old quarterback, Dominic Graziani, to a different position might have saved their season. And then, as we all talked about earlier in the game recaps, Owen Farrell took over at the quarterback position, and Dominic Graziani has moved to running back, slot, utility-type player, and had really made some noise last game. So, guys, obviously we covered Tenora very well, but what are your thoughts on this statement here?
I can't disagree with it. But again, we mentioned the play calling was entirely different. When you look back at the first couple games, first 3 games, it was the Dom show. If he wasn't throwing the ball, he was running the ball, and the other guys had very few carries. The one thing that changed, you moved Dom to running back, but then he was carrying the ball as a running back, and he was carrying the ball quite a bit, but you didn't see Owen Farrell take any. I don't think he ran the ball at all. So you change that around, and now the quarterback's not running the ball. You got a running back running the ball, which is what Dom needed. And I think there's guys there that could have done that. I just think that all changed at the same time, which made it look. I don't know. I think it made eye candy look better than what it might have really been. But I think Dom moving to running back is going to open up Tenor to a whole new realm if they move him around. Put him at the slot, put him out at wide receiver, throwing him the ball. Because teams got to focus on him. Yeah. He's a great athlete.
Absolutely.
So teams are going to have to focus on that extra threat that's not under center, as AJ said earlier.
Yeah, I'm going to come out and say I 100% agree with this. I think from what we've seen, and I know it's only been one game, but just the dynamic and the feel for the team and the offense. And this is a big move. And Dom's a team player for, accepting that position change, but he's still going to be a large component, if not the biggest component in that offense for the Rams. I think the thing, too, we saw through the first 3 games, we saw Tenor play one of the toughest non-conference schedules in Northwest Ohio. Right. So that's tough to play, especially at the quarterback position when your offense relies on that. But B, the play calling was certainly different through the first 3 games, and I just feel like Tenor didn't have that run attack to start the season, which if you don't have that run attack, everyone's just going to drop, and you're not going to have those passing lanes open up. You can't sell play action if you don't run the ball ever, so you're not going to get bite from those safeties and linebackers. So that certainly didn't help through the first couple weeks, and obviously there's miscues, I'm sure on coaching and the player aspect. But I like the play calling a lot. I think last game, like we said earlier, was the best game that was called in terms of play. There's a feel to it, and they rode that momentum throughout the entire game. So I think if Tenor can keep that up, and I think that's the piece that they were kind of missing through the first 3 games. We know they gave up some points on defense, but the offense was setting them up with short fields. The defense to defend short fields all the time. And that's so tough as a defense when teams only have 30, 40 yards to drive, and they're on your half of the field to start their possession. So I guess that's kind of where I'm at on things.
Yeah, I mean, I think we talked about it quite a bit earlier as well. So I mean, I dabbled into it quite a bit, but as Logan and Tony stated everything perfectly. Another thing with the Rams offense is, like, unlike most high school teams, they have like a luxury vehicle sitting on the sideline that they can use. You don't have to get the ball inside the 5 or 10 to score every time. You get the ball to the 30, 25, 30. You got Jacob Bishop over there that can come in and knock it through for 3 points. So, but as far as could this be a season changer? Absolutely. I mean, Dom, when he's on the field, as you guys said, he's probably the best player at times on the field for either team. He's just so elusive, and he just adds a whole new dimension at the running back position that they didn't have through the first 3 games. So,
yeah, and I give props because that's not necessarily an easy decision for anyone to make.
Oh, no.
Right? Whether you're coaching staff, player, you're already 3 games into the season. The last thing you want to do is making a large adjustment to your offense, and especially someone as your signal caller, and things really worked out for the best. So I think Tenor is going to be just fine the rest of the season. Personally, I think my outlook on where the season was heading through the first 3 games, now what we saw in terms of the offense and how dynamic it can be, has really changed my outlook, and I think it's for the better. I think it's for the best, and I think this move makes Tenor very competitive in conference play for the rest of the year. That's a good one. So let's move on to the next point here. We're looking at the NWAL is the poverty compared to Liberty Center. So someone is calling out the league and putting Liberty Center in their own category.
Wow.
Keith, Tony, one of you guys want to start this one?
Go ahead, Keith.
Boy, oh boy. I mean, this is Liberty Center is in a whole other category by themselves lately. I mean, when's the last time they lost a league game? Was 2021 to Archibald, I believe.
And,
I mean,
you look back probably 3-4 years ago when DJ Newman was at Archibald.
Right.
I think that was
22, right? 22 they lost.
I mean, it was 22.
22 and what
22
week
they
10?
lost them in they lost them in the regular season and then
Beat them in the playoffs.
playoffs.
Yeah. But, yeah, I mean, obviously the NWL is not what it's been in years past. Archibald's down. You know, some of the other teams are down. But then again, you look at Delta. Delta's like kind of elevated themselves a bit. Patrick Henry's Patrick Henry. You know, you got Evergreen kind of teetering. Could be a 500 team or above in the conference. So, but yeah, I mean, Liberty Center is just head and shoulders above everybody in the conference, and it just kind of makes everybody else seem like they're watered down, I think.
And actually, I want to bring up another point, too. Another hot take that was submitted, but we've discussed this in the past, was that I believe it went something along talent level is down in Northwest Ohio, but competitiveness is up. And I would say that's probably a fair statement.
Yeah.
There's some really good athletes in Northwest
Absolutely.
Ohio, but the overall level of whether it be athleticism or just being skilled at the game of football, I don't care whatever position group you look at. I think you could honestly say it is down just a little bit. If you're the overall look of everything in Northwest Ohio, it's not like you have multiple. Like I feel like you look back 5-10 years ago, and you had studs on every single team that were all Ohio type players, and but yeah, that was kind of a hot take someone submitted, but I mean I think that's fair to say that Liberty Center right now is the king. They're king of the hill, and over the last 2 years, I mean, really, if you want to go further back than that, 5 years,
Probably.
no one else has even come close to the level Liberty Center is at.
I don't know. I look at this. Yes, Liberty Center has been the top dog in the NWAL, but when you talk about being in poverty, I mean, and I'm just going to say it just the way I'm thinking it. How in the hell can you say PH is poverty level when they went to the states? You know what I mean?
I don't agree with that.
I don't.
Or Delta at this point.
I mean, Delta. But I mean, PH went to the state semifinals last year.
Yeah.
How can you say that they're poverty? Just because Liberty Center beat them, and they did beat them, but
2021 was the last Liberty Center conference loss.
Okay.
They finished 6-1.
And I don't know. I have a tough time with that. Right now, Brian's not playing well. Swanton. You're just looking at some of these teams that Wasion, they're just not playing well right now. And so if you're talking about now, probably yeah. I mean, Liberty Center is definitely the top dog, and it's going to take a little bit to knock them off. I think they've got a very good thing going over there. Coach Mueller and the coaching staff over there has got those kids in the weight room. They're just kicking butt, but and kids are buying in, and more kids are buying in, and you got 70 kids on the roster now, which is phenomenal. Is that going to turn? You see these ups and downs with teams, and is there going to be a turn? And we keep thinking there's going to be a turn, and Liberty Center just doesn't turn. They just keep right on the same track, and so to say NWAL is poverty, I wouldn't. That's disrespectful to PH. I think
I wouldn't word it as poverty. I mean, I don't agree with that exact statement.
Right.
I mean, I see what they're trying to say is Liberty Center's on a whole nother level, but like you said, PH made the state semifinals last year in their respective division. You can't fault that.
Right.
And you look at a lot of these teams, and we had talked, maybe talent level is down a little bit among everyone, but you take any of these teams out of the NWL and throw them in any other conference, probably 75% of the league is going to go out and compete and win games. You throw a lot of these teams, there's always that comparison of the NWL and GMC.
Right.
There's a lot of these teams that would probably win a lot, and we've seen some of the teams that were down, like Bryan and Wasion. Fairview had beat this year, but it goes back and forth both ways. And I believe last year, and this topic always gets thrown up, is teams in the NWL could not compete in the NLL or the WBL. That's wrong. I think teams, even this year, you look at Liberty Center, Patrick Henry would be competitive in a lot of games. Delta just running the football down people's throats, similar to Liberty Center. So poverty. Probably not the right word. I don't know what would you say, or how would you rephrase that?
I don't know. I mean, if you want to say Liberty Center's the king of the NWAL, I would agree with that because they are. They are, and but I wouldn't necessarily say that the rest are peasants either.
No,
you know what I mean? So, like I said, I have a tough time just because. I mean, you look at Liberty Center, they're D5. You look at PH, they're D6, D7 this year.
PH is Division 6.
Division 6. I couldn't remember where they were at this year. So, I mean, I don't know. That's my thoughts.
You were talking about the way Northwest Ohio football seems to be down a little bit. I think Liberty Center tends to be the one that's the most consistent. You know, it's been how many years, 3 years, whatever it was, since they lost a conference title. And it seems like their numbers keep climbing. I think 2 years ago when we were over there at Liberty Center looking at the roster, it was like 63 kids. I think last year was like 68 kids. This year it's like 73 kids. They're growing as a program where I think a lot of schools right now are having problems maintaining, attendance, roster numbers. And I think if some of these schools can start building those roster numbers, and a lot of that starts at the younger ages, getting those younger kids involved in more of the varsity side. Because I forget what coach it was during our season kickoff show talked about how they bring in some of the junior high kids and the sixth graders and things like that. I can't remember who that was.
Coach Robinson or Coach Bach? One of them talked about it in our coaches thing.
I was thinking it was one of those guys. They were talking about getting those kids in there and understanding and feeling what it's like to be a part of that crew. And if more teams can start building up their rosters to have higher numbers, you're going to start seeing that. I mean, Liberty Center has like 78% of their entire male population at their school plays football. And I'm just throwing out a random number there, just rough estimate. But
close.
It's probably more than that.
I can't imagine it's far off. And when you have that kind of attendance and roster, you're going to have a very consistently good football team. Even your down years are still going to be fantastic football years.
Yeah. I think they got a great weight program too, which is leading to a lot of their successes. Not only do they get those kids to come out and play, they get them in the weight room as well. So those kids, we were just talking about, one of them being bigger and stronger and faster, and I think that helps as well. When you want to stay on top, you can't let up.
Yeah, and there's a lot of teams. You talk about weight programs. We heard Coach Enselman talk about that in the kickoff show. They take pride in their kind of revamped strength and conditioning program. They spent a lot of time and effort into it, and I think if you're a program in the area, that's what you got to do nowadays. You have to be educated in strength and conditioning. Can't be any more of just the stereotypical janitor that's a football coach and kind of helps with things. I mean these are guys that are going out and they're learning about lifting and the science behind it and studies and nutrition is another big thing. Is if you don't have nutrition and proper sleep and hydration, you're not going to get bigger, faster, stronger. Right. So it's not the same. Football is changing more than it ever has, and anything you can do to gain a competitive advantage against your team. Another team, that's going to pay dividends, and that's what a lot of these top programs they do. They have these elite strength and conditioning programs. So
I think Elmwood has something similar. Didn't they initiate that this past season, where they brought in like a whole new program for their strength and conditioning and whatnot? So
I'll never forget Saturday mornings here in Muggsy yell, "Grab a plate!" You always did plate drills on Saturday morning. Your sores can be from the night before. Like, oh, you got to work out that lactic acid. Grab a plate. There wasn't a whole lot of like reasoning behind it, or like you said, Logan. There's more science behind it now, and nutrition and things like that, and I think that helps a lot.
And the other thing that I talked about when it comes to this hot take is, look at the stadium, look at the culture, look at the community being involved in the program, and I think that probably factors more into the comment about it being poverty than anything else, because Liberty Center, their whole community is involved, just like Columbus Grove, and the community gets involved, and they've got new lights, they've got the new field house, they've got the new turf, they've got the new stadium, they got all the new fencing around, they got the new parking lot or the new bleachers on the visitor side, and when you start doing that and you have that kind of atmosphere to go into on a Friday night, and the community's involved and there's things going on, and I think that as well helps build that program as well. Kids want to be a part of that, right? So I think that factors in more than some of the other things. Like I said, the new lights, the stadium, and all that stuff.
One thing I noticed, I kind of dawned on me over at Hicksville this past week. The Tenora game. I really like having fans lined up along the end zones. I noticed that at Liberty Center, with their field, they don't have like a fence between the end zone and fans. I mean, they're lined up in lawn chairs right along that end zone. Right. And Hicksville is kind of the same way. And now that I think about it, Edgerton, they're the same way. Yep. You get those fans closer, and it starts just sparking that atmosphere when you can hear those fans breathing down your neck or, you know, yelling at you as you're trying to make that, you know, touchdown pass. Like, it changes things. It energizes you a little bit. And I'd like to see more teams, even if you do have a track around your stadium, I think you can still, you know, have people closer, you know, let them be down in the end zone. You know, I think it would be cool to start seeing some more of that.
I think a combination of things is what makes, and we've discussed many times, and multiple people have, is, you know, how does Liberty Center, how does Columbus Grove, how do these programs continue success? How do they build where they're at? Well, we just listed a bunch of different reasons, but I do think stadium setup and community involvement, like, you know, getting fans involved, is a huge one too. Because I agree. I mean, I think you go to a football game, and if it does have a track around the field, which we're not big fans of, it presents a barrier as a fan. So, you know, you feel like there is that distance. But as soon as you start introducing people like right onto the field, like we've seen at Liberty Center, Hicksville, got people bring in chairs, things like that. Or even Archbold, they have bleachers in the end zone so people can go out there and they can watch the game right on the field. I think it makes for a better environment. And I think it kind of builds that connection with your community too, in terms of, you know, fans and I don't know. I think it all plays a combination to it.
Good hot take always leads to more than
a lot of discussion. All right, let's move into the next one. Got a couple more here. Who has been, not really much of a hot take, but who has been the most dominant offense or defense of any team in high school you have seen over the last decade or so? I think I'll start. Probably one of them back when I was playing, be Wayne Trace, that offense. Holy smokes, with Colby Spees. And I'm trying to think of who that good wide receiver was. I can't think of who it is. It's on the tip of my tongue. But, man, that offense was – it was hard to stop. And they beat us a couple times, and we were a quality Tenora team. And there for a couple years after the Colby Spees era, they still had really, really good kids, and that offense – oh, man. I mean, they just aired it out, and we got burnt. Oh, Showalter, Corbin Showalter.
Yes.
I remember vividly.
I was getting ready to Google it, actually.
And I believe one of the playoff games, he had burnt one of our receivers deep, and it was just perfect pass, perfect catch, touchdown.
That was the first play of the game at Lima Central Catholic.
Yep, I remember that. That would have been my, I think, sophomore year, I believe, and that was the year, would have been, 2013?
I think so.
That Wayne Trace made it to the state championship. Yep. And, yeah, that was probably, for me, one of the most dominant offenses that I have ever seen in terms of airing the ball out. And you got to remember, too, I wasn't around when Bob Ullman was over at Fairview. Right. I know they had some prolific offenses as well. But speaking of offense, defense, I think that's an easy one. I would say probably Liberty Center over the last year or two. I mean, limiting opponents to 8. I think they, don't quote me on this, but I know it's somewhere around the ballpark, 8 points, 6 points or less a game.
So they've only given up 14 all year so far in 4 games, so 7 points twice.
Yeah, and I think that's probably the best defense I've ever seen.
I would have to say I think probably the only defense that would compete with that in my mind was the 2010 Tenora defense with Landon Dravis's era. We were shut out the entire conference other than one kickoff return by Holgate. Edgerton. Yep. So outside of a kickoff return, there wasn't even a point scored against Sonora that year as far as the conference goes. I think there was a few points.
There was 18 points. There were 18 points scored against Parkway. That was the only other points you guys gave up. That was basically against the JV.
Yeah.
I think the starters gave up 6, and then the rest of them were given up by the JV
so I
team.
think as far as dominance goes, I really think that's got to be one of the most dominant defenses I've ever seen. I don't think I've ever seen a team sweep an entire conference. I would consider that even a shutout for the conference because it wasn't even the defense that gave up that point against
I think Kevin
Edgerton.
Klein was at Edgerton way back then. That was his opening kickoff to the second half. Kid took it all the way.
Yeah, Coach H had some solid defenses back in the day for Tenora.
Absolutely.
I don't know. Tony, Keith, what are your thoughts?
For me, I don't know. Defensively, the one AJ brought up is for Tenora was pretty bad. Then Liberty Center, obviously, the last couple of years just been dominant. Boy, I don't know. I don't know if defensively, I don't know of any others that would compete really. Offense, Logan, back when you played, your guys' offense I thought was pretty dynamic. Riley Noggle, Brevin, Hunter Vogel.
Yeah.
You guys had a lot of weapons to use as well.
I just don't think that we threw up the points that and our offense was good, but it's not like we lit up the scoreboard. I don't know, like some other teams.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm thinking, way back, this is over a decade ago, but Bob Olin offenses over at Fairview were throwing up, 50 points a game, but right now, offensively, Liberty Center obviously because they're just blowing people out again. But right now, I would have to say probably Eden is one of the offenses that I would, if I wanted to go see an offense play right now, I'd probably go watch Eden right now. And it's the Bob Olin offense, right? So, yep. I just don't. I don't know as far as the most dominant offense. I'd have to say Liberty Center. They just the play of the game you showed a couple weeks ago when the whole entire offensive line's running downfield to block for your running back. That's pretty dominant to me. So.
And that's a mindset in those kids' minds. I mean, they are coached, and that's their drive. That you do not stop till the whistle is blown, and even after that, we know that they continue to go until after the whistle's blown. But that's just so ingrained in their minds, and I think for a lot of kids in today's day and age, and I see it in a lot of high school teams. A lot of players just don't have that mindset, but it seems like everyone in the Liberty Center program they do, and that's offense, defense, and I think that's what needs, a lot of teams need for success and sustained success is you need that mentality. You're going to go out there and I'm just going to whoop your butt every single play. I don't care if I get knocked down, I'm going to get back up and I'm going to try 2 times harder the next time. And sometimes you don't see that fire under kids. And a lot of times you may see it only 1 or 2, but it takes a whole team effort to really be dominant. So,
I mean, there's a lot of good offenses out there right now. I mean, Columbus Grove's offense is awesome. They're playing well. PH's offense is doing well. I mean, there's a lot of good offenses out there this year that I think would be, would be in running for that.
Yep. Keith, what about you?
You guys pretty much covered everything. For me, Wayne Trace, when Colby Spees was quarterback in, that offense was unstoppable. I really think the only thing that stopped him in the championship game was it was cold and snowy.
Yeah, that's true too.
When you're a spread offense and all of a sudden the elements turn against you and it's 32 degrees and the flakes are flying, it's a little bit of change of pace for you. But and defensively, last year Liberty Center, that's probably one of the better defenses that I've seen. And as AJ said, that Sonora team in 2010 was pretty dominant as well. So.
And I think another shout out goes to Columbus Grove. I'm looking to this year they've given up 7, 14, 13, 7. So probably giving up 9, 10 points a game. But the amount of turnovers that they're creating every game.
Yeah.
Geez, I think their defense is probably averaging 4 turnovers a game. That's really impressive too. So not only just points, but the fact of just controlling the ball, taking the ball away, winning the turnover margin battle, not by 1 or 2, but 3, 4, 5. I think that's pretty prolific too in terms of talking about teams this season. So. Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of good football over the years, but I think those are all good ones that have stuck out. So let's move on to the next one. We're looking at Hicksville is like the Cowboys. This is our year. I don't even know how you want to say that, but it's kind of, regular letters, capital letters, whatever. Then goes 1-9. Guys, we saw Hicksville play last week. I personally was pretty impressed. I mean, they shocked me with what they brought out to the field. And, maybe not – I don't know what you want to take in this is our year in terms of, are you going to win conference, playoffs, whatever. But I think you could probably say that Hicksville – and I said it before, they're going to go out and they're going to upset it. They're going to upset 1 to 2 teams in the GMC this year of games where they come in and they're the underdog. You can mark that down right now. Yeah. They're going to go out and do that. So – I don't know about you guys, but what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I was impressed by Hicksville last week. I mean, it was like I say quite a bit. I mean, I guess quite a bit is in every couple of weeks or So, but and we're not that many years away from Hicksville, one of the better teams in the GMC. They always finish in the upper third. I mean, they won the GMC, I don't know, about 5-6 years ago, and probably went through a decade of dominance over there. So Coach Lucas Smith had a really good program over there. Obviously, numbers are a problem, and Coach Davis building things back, and very impressed with the Aces offense last week. So,
yeah, same here. I think I don't think they go 1-9. I think they win a few more games than that. But I like the fact that they're picking on the Cowboys.
I have to laugh though, because every year we do hot takes, the Cowboys get thrown into them
like it.
somehow, and it's priceless. So
Yeah.
Well, I kind of compare it to, like, I think the Lions tend to say that a lot. At least my friends up in Michigan, I have quite a few of them up there. They always say, like, oh, this is the year. The Lions are looking really good this year. And then they go out and they're like, 25% win. It's like, sure.
Well, last year they did pretty well.
Well, last year, last
year
year
they
was
did well.
different. I'm talking like traditionally the
Right.
last
if you're talking
decade
like
or
that's
so.
like the Browns. Hey, we've got a new quarter. Oh, wait a minute, that didn't work out. Hey, we got a new. Oh, that didn't work out either.
hey, their coach
There's
that
a
they have
couple of
now
teams
is the
that-
coach of the year 2 of the last 3 years.
Yeah, there's a couple of NFL teams that kind of remind me of that, but yeah, I don't think Hicksville is that way. I think Hicksville, they're the team that can really screw up your season if you're not careful.
Absolutely.
So definitely got to watch out for them. I'm glad Sonora got by them. There was a little bit there for a while. I wasn't sure going into halftime. I think it was still a very tight game. And Brant Langham is the real deal. He's a very good athlete. I think he's going to make a dent in a couple of teams here down the stretch. So no, I don't think this hot take really plays out.
all right, last hot take, and we always include one, usually by good old Michael Hearn. Luther Shark LeVay from Any Given Sunday is the greatest film football player of all time. So, unfortunately, I have not seen Any Given Sunday. I know I caught a lot of grief from people of not watching very many football movies, even though I'm a football fanatic. So, I'm going to have to take a day and watch all these. But has anyone seen Any Given Sunday? I know Keith has.
Yeah.
Of course, Geese has.
So, what kind of character is
It's
Luther
actually
LeVay?
played by Lawrence Taylor.
That's what
and
I
he
thought
pretty
I
much
saw.
plays the character like he did in his real life football.
Okay.
Madman, just nuts. Greatest film character though. I mean, like I'm old school. I was going through some of the lists here. Like Charles Jefferson from Fast Times at Ridgemont High. I mean, it's hard to. Forrest Gump, El Bundy.
Or like a classic
Bundy.
Bobby Boucher,
right?
or a Paul Crew, or
Yeah.
Even some of the Friday Night All the Right Moves characters in the TV show Friday Night Lights. Tim Riggins, everybody loves Tim Riggins. I mean, so Varsity Blues, you got Billy Bob, you got Tweeter. I mean, you got all those, but yeah.
He's naming all these people, and now I know half of
Yeah,
them.
I can roll
I gotta
off.
watch all these.
I can roll off another 10 more, but
I'm trying to think, isn't another big Booby Miles from Friday Night Lights? He's another character
Yep,
too,
yep.
and I don't know. This is a tough one, but for me, I don't know. I can't agree with that because I haven't seen the movie, but you can never go wrong with Bobby Boucher. I mean, he's got a drive and will like no other. I mean, he's going to run through a brick wall and maybe 3 for you, but
they have that
him or Paul Crew,
sound like a
obviously.
choo-choo train.
Right. The program was at Lattimore that had his face painted like a skull, and he was just nuts. But
Yeah.
I think it was a program.
Trying to think of the guy's name from Remember the Titans. I mean, that was
Yeah.
pretty cool
I
too.
forget
So
his name.
I mean,
Right. Good. I love these questions though. It gives us a little bit of talking points there.
Yeah, and even I don't even mind like if the last one is something a little bit off topic
No,
from
that's-
football,
that's-
just to get us talking about some things. It always ends up related to football somehow, usually, anyways. So, no, that's a good one. I think it just goes to show I need to catch up on my football movies because the only one I've seen is The Longest Yard, and I guess Waterboy too. I guess I kind of forgot about that one, but I don't even know if I watched The Waterboy all the way through. So. I'll have to sit down and watch all of them. I'm
So
telling
you
you
sit
what.
down on like a Sunday night that's not in football season.
Yeah, I was
It'll
going to
be
say, it's going to have to be like in
My mama says. My mama says.
it's going to have to be in, Well, is it his mom says football's for the devil too?
Yeah,
That's right.
everything's the devil.
That's right. So, yeah, I'm going to have to take a cold, snowy day in January when there's nothing going on and sit down and just watch a marathon of all these movies. So, well, that concludes our hot takes presented by BSN Sports. So, again, keep sending these in each and every week. We have a great time with them. It gives us some good discussion. Keep sending those in. We're going to take a break to hear from our sponsors. We'll be right back with Week 5 game predictions. BSN Sports is your go-to business for purchasing uniforms, equipment, spiritwear, and anything else your athletic program needs, giving you more time to impact lives on the field. With over 1,200 sales professionals who live, work, and serve in your community, you're always just a short drive or phone call away. Be sure to give your local sales rep and Jim Garris a call for any of your athletic supply needs. Optimal Performance Fitness is your go-to gym in Northwest Ohio, providing group fitness classes, personal training, and sports performance sessions for area athletes. Located in Napoleon, Ohio, give them a call today at 419-438-7265.
Baden Stevens Body Shop is your #1 voted auto body shop in Northwest Ohio. We are your experts on all makes and models and are the only Chrysler, Ford, and GM certified collision repair center in the area. Located in Jewel, Ohio. Give us a call today at 419-497-3111 to schedule your free estimate. Come check out the Baden Stevens Body Shop difference.
Marco's Pizza is honored to sponsor NWO Sports, serving your pizza of choice in Northwest Ohio. Defiance, Archbold, Wauseon, Delta, Bryan, Napoleon, Paulding, and Montpelier. Order online at marcos.com today. Remax Realty of Defiance has represented Defiance County for nearly 40 years. Located at 1401 South Jefferson Avenue in Defiance, we have 13 agents ready and available to assist you in home buying or selling needs. You can check out all the listings at www.remax419.com or call us at 419-784-3029. Let our years of experience go to work for you. For 26 years, Burkholder Taxidermy has been Northwest Ohio's trusted full-service taxidermist. From game heads to lifelike mounts, we provide exceptional quality and craftsmanship. Preserve your memories with Burkholder Taxidermy, where experience meets excellence. Located at 19331 Buckskin Road, Defiance, Ohio. Give them a call at 419-782-9538. Fairchild Family Chiropractic aims to help families to get better together in the least invasive way possible. Dr. Fairchild focuses on the neck using the Blair technique and Palmer package, adjusting to correct spinal misalignments. Located in Defiance, Ohio, call Dr. Fairchild today at 419-576-5070 to schedule an appointment. DeLarber Concrete and Hauling is your go-to provider for concrete and hauling needs. Flat work, pole barn floors, driveways, and patios. Hauling services for stone, mulch, and dirt. Call Josh for your free estimate at 419-576-0401. Jimenez Basketball Academy strives to create an atmosphere to cultivate basketball fundamentals in Northwest Ohio youth athletes, offering one-on-one sessions, group sessions, speed and agility training, and much more. Located in Pettisville, Ohio, call Coach Jesse today at 419-551-8105. Check out Tenora Rams Live. Live events broadcast on YouTube and post-game results, articles, schedules, and more can all be found on tenorarams.com. Feel free to look up their Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram pages as well. Northwest Ohio Basketball hosts premier basketball tournaments for boys in grades 3 to 8 in the area. Upcoming tournaments are right around the corner. Give them a call today at 419-283-5296 or check out their website at nwoball.com. The Drop Zone Pizzeria is the #1 voted pizza restaurant in the region. Check them out for pizza, wings, subs, and more. Located in Ayersville and Stryker, or ask them about their traveling food trailer. Trueland Equipment and Salesman Lauren Brown are your go-to for John Deere equipment in Archbold, Ohio. Mowers, compact tractors, skid loaders, and more. Your sales expert on commercial turf and CCE sales. Give Lauren a call today at 419-445-1565. We're back on the NWO Sports Podcast, and we are into Week 5 game predictions, so let's get things rolling. First matchup, we're looking at Hicksville 1-3 at Antwerp 2-2. And, guys, I don't know about you, but I sat here, and this is probably the toughest game that I personally had to pick this week. So, back and forth. I actually had one team. I changed it back to another. Finally settled on this one. So, the team I'm going with is Antwerp Archers. I really think Hicksville has a really good shot in this game. But I think Antwerp, I just like what I've seen a little bit more out of them. I know they just dropped a tough game to Edgerton. They gave up 42 second-half points, but I think this game's competitive. I think it goes into the fourth quarter. Would not be shocked at all if the Aces ended up winning this one, but I'm taking Antwerp.
I'm with you, Logan. I follow through with everything you said. If we're following this game throughout the game and AJ's got the score ticker up and I see Hicksville's ahead, I wouldn't be shocked one bit. But in the end, I think the Archers have just a little too much talent, so I'm taking Antwerp.
I'm going to go with Hicksville on this one. You said it. I think they do have what it takes here to come out on top, and I'm not going to be surprised by any means if they do take it. Watching them last week against Sonora, they've got some talent there that's going to be a threat against Antwerp, and I think Hicksville comes out on top.
I agree with you, AJ. I'm taking Hicksville.
And Matthew picked Antwerp, so we're pretty split on that game. Next game, Paulding 4-0 at Ayersville 0-4. Unfortunately for Ayersville, I think this is a no-doubter that Paulding comes away. They win this one big. Coach Mickey's a great coach, but just really struggling. They lost a lot of good players to graduation last season. Still trying to struggle to find their identity, I believe, too. But I'm going with Paulding Panthers on this one.
Yeah, like I said, Ayersville played with Fairview last week. Actually had a 7-0 lead, I believe, early in the second quarter. I watched the first half of that on local cable, we'll say. I thought, wow, Ayersville's like this. I already knew the score in the back of my mind, obviously, but since it's on replay, but I'm like, God, Ayersville's playing with Fairview, and then the just big snowball of turnovers and everything just happened within like a 5-minute period. But I think Ayersville can play with Paulding, but I think Paulding comes out on top.
I don't think this is even going to be a close one. I think Paulding's going to come out and just smoke Ayersville here. Unfortunately for Ayersville, I think they were going to start the season off, or will continue the season with a winless record here. I think they're going to be 0-5, so I'm going to go with Paulding Panthers.
Panthers for me.
And Matthew had Paulding, so Paulding across the board. Next game, Edgerton 3-1 at Wayne Trace 0-4. We've seen Wayne Trace be competitive in their games. They played Paulding fairly decent. But Edgerton, I think they're on a roll right now. They've got 3 wins on the season. Huge comeback in the second half against Antwerp. And Edgerton's playing true to that role of the dark horse of the GMC. Give me the Bulldogs.
Bulldogs.
Bulldogs for me.
I'm picking the Bulldogs, but I wouldn't be surprised if you don't see Wayne Trace make this one exceptionally close and maybe not even win it. It's going to come down to turnovers. Always does at Wayne Trace.
Yep. And Matthew had Edgerton, so Edgerton across the board. The next game, it's got to be the NWO Sports Game of the Week, and that's going to be Fairview 3-1 at Tenora 1-3. We'll be broadcasting that game live on Tenora Rams Live. So check out that on YouTube. So we'll have that for all the fans out there that can't make it. But I think this one's obvious to us. Obviously, we're Tenora people. But, you look at implications of this game. This is one of the matchups that's been anticipated all year long in the Green Meadows Conference. And it's a big one. And Tenora's 1-3 coming into this game. We know those losses were all suffered in non-conference play, but they played a gauntlet of a schedule. So all that's out the window. Tenora's got a revamped offense. Fairview is coached very well under Coach Doug Rakes. We just had him on a week ago. Really great guy, really great coach, yep. And prolific offense. It's going to be a good game, and I'm excited to see this one. And if you're a fan, I would get out there and watch this game because you're going to get your money's worth. And the moment of truth, I did some deep thinking on this. I am going with the Fairview Apaches.
Oh,
let me explain.
There's no explaining. You can't explain yourself out of this one, Logan.
Reason I'm going with Fairview. Fairview's got some stability in their offense right now. Tenora, they made probably the best change of their season yet at the quarterback position and moving guys around, getting guys to where they need to be to help the team. I think they still need a little bit more time to figure things out. And the unfortunate thing for them is they played Hicksville last week. Now you're playing the preseason favorite to win the conference in the Fairview Apaches. I do think Tenora has a shot in this game, though. And I think the only way they win it is if they run the football and they run it well like they did against Hicksville. That's the only way that they're going to be able to beat Fairview. Fairview's susceptible to the run attack. We've seen it against Delta and other teams in the past in the season. And I think that's the only way Tenora wins it. And but I think the Apaches are going to take it.
I think it's similar to a game in 2022 where Antwerp was kind of on the way up. And they came over to Tenora to play. I think it was actually probably the same week 5, honestly.
I think so.
And that was a heck of a game. Both teams battled throughout. Rams had a chance to win at the end. I think a pass fell incomplete in the end zone. Antwerp scored in the last minute or two, I think. I think this game will be similar to that. One thing, I don't think Sonora can fall behind and catch up. So if the Rams get down early, 14-0, 21-0, I don't think they can catch up. Now, on the other side of the ball, Coach Helton and the staff, you almost got to keep away with the offense. If Rams can control the ball and keep the ball out of Fairview's hands, because we saw they can strike like within 1 or 2 plays, they're going to score instantly. But it's almost you want to control the game, control the clock, keep the ball away from Fairview, and just try and put points on the board no matter how you can. Because if you fall behind, you're not going to catch up. Yeah. And if you're ahead of Fairview, it's always in the back of your mind, we got to stop them from scoring. So if Tenora has a 21-0 lead or a 21-7 lead, Fairview's still going to come back.
Yeah,
so it's two ends of the spectrum here as far as what you do. But I want to take Tenora. Go ahead, Logan.
I was just going to say, I think if you're Tenora, you do not want to be in a shootout with this Fairview offense.
You can't.
And we know Tenora's offense has improved, but this has got to be a low-scoring game for Tenora, I believe. Like you said, if you can control the clock, run the ball, run it efficiently, continue to move the chains, you can't make errors on either side. You know, penalties are like the plague. We know both teams have struggled with that early on. Yep. So, you know, whoever has less penalties and turnovers, I mean, it's pretty obvious you're going to win the game. So,
I think Tenora's defense is going to be kind of a question. I think they've got some good matchups. You know, Bishop out there, Dom back in the deep secondary. I think there's a few questions as far as matchups, and depends on how Fairview utilizes those matchups. If they can get some of their key players away from Bishop and Graziani, I think they can do it. We saw it against Archbold. Archbold matched up a couple of times away from those guys and ended up having a touchdown pass. The go-ahead touchdown pass was trying to play those matchups, and it might take until halftime before they really figure that out. But if Tenora is able to control that a little bit, I think they come away with the win here. So I'm going to go ahead and go with the Rams.
I tell you, I'm kind of with you, Logan, that this game could go either way, but there's going to be, in my opinion, there's four players from Tenora's team that's going to control this game. And that's the 2 defensive ends, Schaublin playing linebacker, and Dom. If Dom can run the ball, I think that's going to be huge. If we can't run the ball, then we're going to have to contain, and the defensive ends are going to have to do their job, and Schaublin's going to have to be able to shut down that middle with that running, because they're going to try to run the ball as well. And, because Zedek runs the ball as well. He doesn't just sit back here like, Radcliffe used to do back in the day.
And a shout-out to Trenton DeLarber as well, which we admitted earlier. He'd had a heck of a game against Hicksville as well.
Yeah, true. But I think it's going to come down to those 4. And I'm going to take the Rams because I think the Rams could pull this one off, but they're going to have to play disciplined ball, on the defensive side.
And Matthew had Fairview, so we're split on this game. Next game, Delta 4-0 at Archbold 2-2. First big matchup for Delta in the NWAL. Archbold just had their taste of Liberty Center the week before, and so coming off a tough loss to them. I like what we're seeing out of Coach Vickers and a quality Delta squad. Just running the ball, really dominating in most aspects of the game. So I am going Delta.
Delta big.
Yeah, I'm going with Delta here as well.
Delta for me.
And Matthew had Delta as well. Next game, Patrick Henry 3-1 at Bryan 0-4. I think that Patrick Henry, I think they take this one. I think it's a running clock in the second half. Unfortunately, Bryan's been struggling this year, just having a tough go-around to start the 2024 season. And I think the Patriots take advantage of that. So Patrick Henry for me.
Patriots big.
Patriots for me.
PH.
And Matthew had Patrick Henry as well. So Patrick Henry across the board. Next game, Evergreen 2-2 at Wauseon 1-3. And another game I had to think about a little bit. An up-and-coming Evergreen squad. Coach Box doing good things over there for the Vikings. Wauseon's coming off their first win of the season, which is huge. Just a confidence booster. I don't care who it's against. And they really needed that. But after some thinking, it's at Wauseon. Wauseon's got some really good athletes as well. I think Wauseon and the Indians take this one.
Yeah, this is one that I actually originally had Wauseon, and then I started digging a little bit deeper, but I changed mine to Evergreen.
I'm going to go with Wauseon here. I think they're going to ride this wave from this win last week. I think they're going to ride it into another win here against Evergreen.
I think I'm going to go with Coach Bach and the Vikings.
And Matthew had Evergreen as well, so we're split down the middle on that one. Next game, Swanton 0-4 at Liberty Center 4-0. This one's a no-brainer. We just talked about Liberty Center just dominating the NWL. I don't think it's any different this week. Liberty Center, give me the Tigers.
Tigers
for me. The only question I have about this game is: are they going to have 17 players run the ball this time? But Tigers definitely.
Yeah, this is Liberty Center all the way.
And Matthew had Liberty Center. Next game, Defiance 2-2 at Shawnee 2-2. Defiance is playing red-hot football, offense, defense, special teams. Give me the Bulldogs in this one. I think they win this one by a couple scores.
Bulldogs playing very well. Taking the Dogs.
Yep, Bulldogs.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Dogs again.
And Matthew had Defiance, so Defiance across the board. Next game, Ottawa Glandorf 2-2 at St. Mary's 2-2. Talk about a defining game for an OG program that's having some success here early on. I know they're 500, but to be 2-2, if you would have went back and after seeing last season, I'm sure that they're pretty excited about that. St. Mary's, them being 2-2, they were projected to be one of the top dogs in the WBL. I think at the end of the day, I think St. Mary's, I think they correct their mistakes, and I think they get back on the win track. But I'd like to see Ottawa Glandorf come out. I think they give them a game. So, but I'm going St. Mary's.
St. Mary's.
St. Mary's.
If OG was playing at home, I would have picked OG, but I went with St. Mary's.
And Matthew had St. Mary's. Next game, Van Wert 1-3 at Wapakoneta 4-0. We've seen what kind of beast Wapakoneta is in the Western Buckeye League. I don't think it's any different this week. So Cougars better play the best ball of the season if they want to get a win in this one, but I'm going Wapakoneta.
Wapakoneta.
Wapak for me.
Wapak for me.
And Matthew had Wapakoneta. Next game, Springfield 1-3 at Napoleon 2-2. Give me the Wildcats in this one. They played Anthony Wayne competitively. This is going to start their run here in the second half of the season, and I think they put themselves in contention to be in a good spot here at the end for the Cardinal division of the NLL, the smaller division championship. So give me the Wildcats.
Wildcats.
Napoleon for me.
And Matthew had Napoleon. Next game, Delphus Jefferson 1-3 at Columbus Grove 4-0. Columbus Grove's going to come out this game, and they're going to road grade Delphus Jefferson. So there's not much more to say. Columbus Grove is there's a reason they're one of the top teams in Northwest Ohio, and Coach Schaefer and staff have done an excellent job. They coach these kids very well. They faced adversity after losing their quarterback Landon Best last week. I don't think it's going to phase them. Again, they come out, they're going to win big.
Dogs.
Oh, I'm riding the Columbus Grove train because I think they're a fantastic ball club over there. So I'm going with Columbus Grove big here.
Go Grove.
And Matthew had Columbus Grove. Columbus Grove from all of us. Next game, this one could be pretty interesting. Whiteford, Michigan, 2-1 at Eden 4-0. Whiteford, Michigan, if you guys haven't known, is always a perennial powerhouse in the smaller division in Michigan. I believe they won a state championship a couple of years ago, and they always make deep playoff runs. So this is always a matchup between the two. That's a tough-fought battle. Could have probably been another game that possibly was in contention for NWO Sports Game of the Week. But at the end of the day, I really like what I'm seeing out of the Bombers this year. They're firing on all cylinders. Probably, you look at stat-wise, probably one of the better seasons that Coach Olwin's ever had. Yeah. I feel like every other game it's 50-plus points from the Bombers. Yep. So give me Eden.
Bombers.
And Matthew had Eden as well. Next game, Summerfield, Michigan, 2-1 at Hilltop, 1-3. Really don't know too much about Summerfield, Michigan. Seeing a lot of different crossover matchups between Ohio and Michigan teams. But Hilltops, they're coming off a win against North Central, so that's good for them. But give me Summerfield in this one.
Summerfield.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Summerfield.
I picked Summerfield because Keith picked Summerfield.
And Matthew had Summerfield, so Summerfield from all of us. Next game, Richmond Heights 0-1 at North Central 0-4. Now, this is one that Matthew had texted me about, and I believe he's telling the truth, but I don't know if he's trying to get me off my game a little bit for these picks. So He said, Richmond Heights has had their struggles as well, and we know North Central has too, but I've got a good feeling that Richmond Heights is going to win this game. I know North Central struggled with some injuries and are struggling to stay healthy. I think that's a big key, and they need some of those players back. So give me Richmond Heights.
Yeah, I have a hard time picking. Nothing against North Central, but they scored 7 points through 4 games. I have a hard time picking a team that scored once all season. So taking Richmond Heights.
Hey, I'm with you on that one, Keith. If you can't get your offense started, you're not going to win much. So I'm going to go with Richmond Heights.
I'm going North Central just because Matthew picked North Central.
Whoa, upset alert.
Look at you.
And Matthew, like Tony said, had North Central, so we're split on that game. Next game, Lipsick 2-2 at Arcadia 0-4. Lipsick dropped a tough one to a good Pandora Gilboa squad last week, but Arcadia's 0-4, struggling this season. Lipsick's got a fair ball club over there. Give me the Vikings.
Yep, Vikings in a rebound game here.
Yeah, Lipsick.
Yep, Lipsick for me.
And Matthew had Lipsick. Last 11-man game, Ridgemont 3-1 at Montpelier 1-3. To be honest, I don't even know, where is Ridgemont? You guys know?
I don't know.
I'm not too sure, but
it was in Fast Times at Ridgemont High, though.
don't think it's the same school.
No. Same one.
But anyways, if your team 3-1, you had to beat some decent opponents, and unfortunately for the Locomotives, I think Ridgemont takes this one.
Ridgemont.
Yeah, Ridgemont.
I went with Ridgemont. Went against Matthew this time.
And Matthew had Montpelier, so Matthew went against the grain. A couple 8-man games here. Holgate 2-0 at Danbury 2-1, and we saw what Danbury did against Stryker, and we saw what Holgate did against Stryker, so we kind of have a comparison there, and that's where I looked and for my pick. So I ended up going with Holgate, so a little bit more impressive in those matchups. So give me the Holgate Tigers.
I took Danbury.
I'm going to go with Holgate. For one, I'm just going with all the local teams for these 8-man games, and I think Holgate was comparable. Like when they beat Stryker versus Danbury beating Stryker, I think the score, it might actually be a pretty good game.
Yep.
I'm going Holgate.
And Matthew had Holgate. Last 8-man game, St. Mary's Central Catholic 2-0 at Stryker 1-2. Stryker's just kind of on the struggle bus a little bit here to start the season. I think St. Mary's takes this one. Give me St. Mary's.
St. Mary's.
I'm still going with Stryker. Even though they might lose this one, I'm still going with Stryker just to show support.
I like the loyalty.
St. Mary for me.
And then the last pick here, Matthew had St. Mary's as well. So, guys, we're on to closing thoughts. Week 5 is among us. So, thoughts going into Week 5.
Just excited to be back on the roof.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Being back at Tenora up on the roof, it's fun. I think looking at those game predictions, this might be the week where we're the most split on just about every game. Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see how those predictions shape up and see where people fall. But get out and watch some football because our nice weekends are going to start coming to a close here soon, I think. So get out while you can if you're fair weather people. If you're diehard football fans, it's another good weekend.
I don't know about you guys, but I kind of like the cold, rough weather. I don't know. It just feels more football to me.
Yeah,
like I'm ready for the temperature to start dropping so you can start having bonfires and sitting outside. And
as long as we can get off the roof, I'm okay with that.
Hey, we could always bring a heater up there. Yeah, we'll figure out something. Right.
So. I think that Tenora Archbold game sitting up on the rooftop there, that was awesome. It was like 70 degrees or
perfect.
65.
Oh, windy,
like
but perfect.
Yeah, once the wind died down, it was awesome.
Yeah,
I even had my jacket on.
One of the points I wanted to bring up, I know we've been getting asked this a lot, is our thoughts on concession stands foods. So I think over the next couple games, we definitely want to find some signature items of these places. And if you guys have any thoughts of what your school or what you know of that are the item to get, let us know because we want to try them out. And last year we talked about them. We talked about Elmwood has ribeye sandwiches. Yep. Lights out. I would love. I would almost drive 45 minutes there to go get one again. They get the grills rolling. We had Red Angel Pizza from Hicksville. Yes. That really hit the spot.
That was really good.
That was really good, too. So, I believe
came out in the tent. I'd never had a pizza that had a tent built above it before. And
pizza in a bag.
And there was nothing. Right. There was nothing on it. I think you would think if you open that up, there's going to be something there holding that up. It's just the way it was folded up. There was nothing there. I was kind of surprised when I opened it up.
Yeah,
very good. Very good pizza.
We got. This is a great we talk about this periodically, but yeah, send in your thoughts. But when we go to Fairview and Wayne Trace, if the wind is blowing right, you get those burgers and hot dog smell coming right at you. Oh man!
You know, some people wanted us to rank them, but I think we discuss them, and there's a lot of good.
Send them in.
A lot of good
tell you
foods.
what, I want people to send in what's your school known for. You know, we know Antwerp has the fish fry, and
I'm pretty bummed.
Elmwood has the ribeye sandwich. So what is your school known for? Send it in to us. We'd love to hear it. Like Logan said, we'll try it out when we're there.
Yeah, definitely. And I said one thing is I'm bummed that we're not going to Antwerp because I love their fish and chips there. That's so good. But I am excited. A couple different places. I got to figure out the wing place in Paulding. We had their wings
over there in a couple weeks.
We had their wings there a couple of years ago, and unbelievable. I think they're smoked chicken wings, and I'm so excited to get those. Wayne Trace, I've been told they have really, really good burgers. I've never had one there before, but I'd like to get one of those. You always smell the smoke rolling across the field. Makes you so hungry. But
Defiance didn't really have anything in the concession stand, but they had all the food trucks sitting there, and we kind of last year we were there last year for the Thursday night game. Had all the food trucks there. That was kind of cool. So kind of have a selection of stuff you could buy there. So
yeah, definitely. Let us know if you're like Tony said, signature item, and we will try them out and we'll have to review them. So all right, well. I don't think anything else from me or you guys, but again, another great podcast and excited to keep things rolling. So other than that, we'd like to thank all of our sponsors, BSN Sports, Optimal Performance Fitness, Marco's Pizza, Remax Realty of Defiance, Bat & Stevens Body Shop, Burkholder Taxidermy, DeLarber Concrete and Hauling, Fairchild Family Chiropractic, Drop Zone Pizzeria, Tenora Rams Live, Jimenez Basketball Academy, NWO Basketball, and Truland Equipment and Lauren Brown. So thank you to all those sponsors that make this possible. We'd also like to give a special thanks to Jeff Batt for allowing us to use his amazing facility at Bat & Stevens Body Shop for today's podcast. Stay tuned for the next NWO Sports Podcast in the near future, and thanks for watching.